Cool. I think I've got everything set up. We have another epic email from Ionis.
It's Sunday, right?
Mhm.
So of course we have an epic email from Ionis.
I give him credit. He messages me like in Discord saying, "Hey, sorry about the email I just sent in, but yeah, it's another one." Because he kind of comes in saying like, "I had thoughts," and that's what I put down. So
Of course you do. Of course you do.
yeah, it entertains me.
Indeed.
How's the weather out that way? It's snowing here.
It will. I would say just slightly above zero. Probably the most correct thing.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's what is it today? It's like super sunny out, but weather-wise though.
yeah.
Oh, I guess it's below zero. Well, I mean, below freezing.
Below
Sorry.
32. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 27. High of 36 today. Yay, winter. All right. Shows on. So I need to find an article for the like crushing specs and such.
Oh no, I turned down my stuff all the way when I came to the realization that my PC was actually under the minimum specs for the game. I was just like, oopsie daisy.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I'm glad you're able to play it. That's kind of going to be the big thing, right?
Yeah, right.
Because there's been some anecdotes about that, about how people have struggled, and
Yeah.
why does that do that to me? So as soon as Ken shows up, this will change.
Well, and supposedly there are like 3 or 4 different class of problem.
Types of problems that are happening.
Yeah. So there are people that are crashing on startup. There are people that are excuse me. There are people that are crashing on startup. There are people that are having the AVX problem that I'm having. There are people that are having problems with certain quests. Um, like it is glitchy,
Okay.
and there's just no way of getting around that.
Interesting. Let's see. Oh, that is not. Trying to make this so it won't keep resizing on me every time I do stuff. Yes.
Oh. No, I am slaying spires at the moment.
That is in which one?
Yeah. Slay the Spire.
Oh, okay. I have not played that.
And yeah, it is quite good.
I'm trying to think what I know about that one. Like, I feel like I've heard about it, but
And I'm not going to see that 1 point of damage because I should not have to.
wait. Now I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like I've played that. Somehow it does feel familiar.
Yeah, it's good. It's a roguelike CCG, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, White's good. Oh, excuse me. Good grief. That's really good.
So, for me, and I'll bring this up in the show again as well. One of the things I've been surprised with a little bit, but I find to be quite cool, is that I swear, like the majority of my Steam list I've looked at has Cyberpunk on it.
Yeah.
When we talk about the numbers, like personal, anecdotally experience, right? It's just like, holy cow! If not my entire list.
Yeah, everybody bought it.
And it's one of those, like, for me, there's a partial thing of like, I'm trying to remember the last time I had run into that I'd seen that many people like all jump onto a game at the same time.
Yeah, you would have to go back to some of the early days of Game Fest, right?
I think something like that, because I was just like, wow, holy cow, like,
yeah. Yep.
Literally everybody on my list. Which admittedly, and it's funny because I have so rarely been lately on the launch of games that it feels weird. It feels like, what? I'm part of the cool kids now?
Yeah, right.
I'm playing the same thing everyone else is. We can actually all talk about this thing. What is this?
Exactly.
So that's kind of a novel thing in my mind right now.
Oh, for sure.
All right. Mostly get camera sorted. Hey, Ionis is saying, yep, got it too.
Good.
Hando saying, can't wait for Cyberpunk 3 years from now when it's 50% off. You know,
there's that too, right? I mean,
man, if there's not a real consideration for that, that's like a always in my mind thing of, I have so many games on my Steam list that I've just never played that I want. Like, part of me says, Wayne, you should not buy a new game. Why? You look at all these AAA titles that you have in your feed that you should be playing, and then it's like, but everyone's talking about this. I want to be a cool kid.
Yep.
And damn it if I don't feel that way right now, like I'm a cool kid.
Darn tootin'.
Well, I think my biggest challenge too is because most of the game releases where I see all the hype tend to be console games lately. Like when Final Fantasy VII remake came out or whatever. I'm trying to think, just because like any of the ones that were PlayStation 4, like early advance where they launched. So Kingdom Hearts 3 or whatever, when it came out and stuff, where I knew a lot of people on my media feeds that would comment about, oh my god, it's coming out. I'm like, but I don't own those consoles. I have a PC.
Right.
And damn it, we all know a PC is better.
The thing is, the Final Fantasy VII remake ended up being absolute trash, right?
Well, you say that. I've heard very mixed, and I only ever played the demo. I went to a friend's and played the demo, and I enjoyed the demo, like the first stage, right? But that's all I have to base it on, so I don't know, personally.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it's a combination. There's one thing that's just like hype train, right? The things that get all the hype, and then when they come out, you're kind of like, really? And it's almost interesting catching what's happening with Cyberpunk right now, right? Because it got a lot of hype, and then I'm seeing this hyper reactive kind of response to it of,
oh yeah,
right? Some people are just blasting it, and then other people are just, oh, I'm having a ball. And
I think Co Carnage had the best take on it so far.
I haven't seen that one.
Like, it's he just did it on his live stream today. He rolled the end credits today, and apparently there are multiple endings. So FYI on that.
That I was aware of.
But his take was, yes, things that have issues. There are things that need fixed. There are mechanics and systems that need augmentation.
Okay.
I think he said development, but I'm saying augmentation. And he said, but there are things in this game that I have seen that are the best that I have ever seen.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
It's yeah.
Well, I'll say
actually.
I mean, from what I'm experiencing so far, it's funny because I bought mine on GOG versus Steam, partially to see how the browser or their downloads and interface would work, and partially because I kept hearing that Steam servers were getting crushed by the downloads.
They were.
And I did not have a single issue on GOG. It just downloaded. I didn't get as fast as I peak on Steam with my gig. Steam I've seen as high as 90 megabytes per second down for a game, which I feel like is a pretty damn solid one. And then, so I've seen that well. And then, what was it? Coming back on GOG, I was getting 40-ish, but it was solid the whole time installing it. So it didn't take me long from the snapped out, screw it, I'll watch, and then boom. Or no, I'll wait maybe, but then the hype caught me and I was like, screw it, I'll just buy it.
Yep.
Pusa in chat. I'll listen to the flip out of the pre-show and half an hour of the show. Well, here's the thing. I appreciate that, Pusa, because it's partly why we started doing the pre-show this way, was to let you kind of get our banter so we can, one, stick to our show during the actual show, get all of the, hey, how's it going done as we're waiting for everyone to arrive.
Exactly.
And as well as an incentive to all of you early birds to show up and to get the notifications on your feeds that we're going live. So, combination of things.
Except I have to open chat when I'm watching our stream. Like normally I don't listen to chat at all or watch chat at all because it's Twitch chat.
Yeah, but it's our Twitch chat, right? Ours has good people.
Sure, our Twitch chat is great. Slay the Spire's not gonna.
Well, it's actually, I mean, it's literally why we keep it in the show when we're going, because you guys, when you chat, actually add something to the conversation. I can understand a lot of the big channels that get just a constant stream, I won't say of consciousness, but a stream of something on the internet that they slow down chats or don't watch. Yeah, because, I don't think I'd be able to keep up with all of that.
That is great. Chat is great. Chat is the equivalent of starting an EU4 game as Bohemia, dismantling the Holy Roman Empire by 1470, PUing Hungary, Poland, Lithuania by 1485, and then switching over to Russia or to Prussia in 1530, and then just eating everything in sight. That's how good chat is.
Nice. And shout out to you, Pusa, for being a part of my social media selfie challenge I'm doing. I appreciate that, and I have an idea to try to match with yours, because it's not just sending a selfie for selfie. I'm actually trying to somewhat look or mimic what I'm being sent. So shout out to you for doing something that's a challenge, because I don't has a big bird of prey to stick in front of me for a selfie. I don't know if I can be as amazing as yours is. But I do appreciate all the people that have, because that's awesome. That's it. I do have an idea. Oh, this one will get us in trouble. That's a fun song. Oh, let's see. Oh, it's because it's a boosted post. I was like, why don't you share? So I'd be curious, especially because it does seem like everybody is playing some Cyberpunk. And some of the things I'll probably throw out during the show as well is request for emails in about some of your better experiences in game. I really want to hear from you guys, the audience, as to what you've seen that's been fun, crazy, or otherwise in Cyberpunk. Because I feel like...
Oh, God. Yeah, real quick spoiler alert on that. because if you don't want to know about this stuff, it's side quests. I'm not gonna ruin anything that's mainline quest. But did you run into the dick implant guy?
No. Oh wait, I think the equivalent of an STD is how I'd best describe the experience. That one?
Yes, he ran into that guy. Good.
That was entertaining.
Well, birds.
That entire one had me chuckling across the whole span.
So hard.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because this has so many side quests. I need to go find a thing that shows me how much actual gameplay I've had in it, since I don't have it in the Steam one. I have to see if GOG has a similar. Because it's the only game I've really been playing since it came out. And I just find myself like, I kind of have a hankering, right? I want to start it up again. I want to see what's next. And the only redundant, if you will, quests I think I've run into so far are the non-scripted auto ones that kind of hit elsewhere in the world. You know, when I'm just running around and find violence over here, find violence over there. It's funny because part of me is not trying to be the altruistic or the heroic character, like I'm trying to save everybody who's getting beat up by thugs. It's more, I can legally shoot these people on the street and then loot everything around them and sell all their guns and stuff. So, hey, thanks for being part of my resource tools. That's like the main reason I stop on the side street is like, oh, or there was a point where I had to wait until a certain specific time to progress. And in doing that waiting period is like, well, what can I do while I wait? Let's go look for some ruckus, right? Let's go. Who's assaulting a citizen?
So here's some other stuff for those that have not made the plunge on Cyberpunk 2077. They either got the actual actress or somebody who can imitate the actress who did GLaDOS's voice.
Oh, I don't think I've run in. Wait, I've heard there's a Easter egg somewhere, and I have not run into or found, or I missed or something.
Yep. So she's in there. I won't say how, but in the middle of doing the quest, you get lectured at by GLaDOS or somebody that sounds exactly like GLaDOS. So it's pretty good. Let's see. I got 2 of the dopest guns.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
What makes the guns so good? Because I'm running into starting to figure out like the pluses, like the little one. There's 2 aspects, right? It's the bonuses you get, like a gun that has fire damage or chem damage, or something, or the potential to burn effect or something like that, right? To the ones that have like better crit chance or headshot bonuses or things like that. So there's that aspect, but then there's things about like the way the gun shoots. Because and so there's aspects like the what have I seen? The charge guns, where instead of just pull the trigger, you can hold down and let go for more damage. And then another one I just got, which was my first Smart Link gun. But so I'm curious, what made these 2 guns for you like so cool?
I haven't played with the Smart Link one. So one of them's a pistol.
Okay.
And one of them's called a precision rifle.
Ooh.
But both of them have shotgun effects.
Wait, what? What do you mean by shotgun effects?
So so the pistol fires. It says it fires 2 projectile or 2 bullets at once.
Okay, I've not run into that at all.
One bullet is multiple projectiles, so it's like a shotgun.
Flechette round.
Yep. And by the way, those rounds have the ability to burn.
Ooh, what percentage? Because I think mine has like a 2 or a 5% chance.
I do not remember. I do not know what the percentage on it is. It also hits like a truck. Like when I found it, it was double the DPS of the pistol I was using at the time.
Wow.
And I have not, and I just replaced it. It was a blue level pistol that I found just randomly laying on the ground in somebody's like apartment or whatever.
Nice.
I just situationally am replacing it with a legendary pistol that's got a boatload of headshot damage on it.
Okay. Ooh.
Combo mealed with pistol perks in the reflex tree.
Okay.
To really just make the damage insane.
Nice. So what do you find yourself leaning towards sorts types of guns or weapons? I should say weapons because there's melee as well.
Sure. There's yes.
And I love my initial katana. Holy cow.
And in fact, they stole a little something from Saints Row 2 and Saints Row the Third.
Okay, I'm curious. Okay, before you get there, because I don't know how to describe it. I'm trying to find every time I see something else in the game. Honestly, I'm seeing something I would relate to another game. Because in general feel, I describe it as GTA 5 mixed with like Fallout 4. In a lot of ways. And I say that somewhat because
in a lot of ways.
Right, not 100%, but then the more gun stuff, I'm starting to say with the sprinkling of Borderlands. Because the variety of guns has kind of impressed me. Or weapons in general, how it's going. As well as I would almost say like the skill tree closer to Borderlands, but with a little more depth. And like,
yes,
like honestly, it's just like it's pulling so many good things from so many different games.
Yep.
So okay, sorry, continue. You said Saints Row. I haven't played enough Saints Row, so
so I only talked about the first one. The second gun's called the precision rifle.
Yes.
And it has the ability to poison, but it does the same thing. It shoots one round, but the one round is like, you know, like an area effect flechette round. Yeah. So it's like you can just sort of point in the vague direction of the head of some baddie and go click, 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 and it's just they die. I did pick up a sniper rifle finally, like a proper sniper rifle, and I tested it. And I tested it at I couldn't get the, what do they say? If you have a stat that's short, like a physical stat, like strength, agility, or body reflex.
For me, cool right now.
Yeah. If you don't meet the conditions of one of those requirements, it will tell you that you can't get the maximum. You can't get full utility. You can't get maximum performance. You can't get full performance, something like that.
Okay.
Out of the weapon, but you can still use it. And at not optimal performance, from like, I was way across the street from this dude, and it just evaporated his head, just like
nice.
Boom. Yeah. So good stuff. I have a phallus bludgeoning weapon.
So that's the Saints Row one for a melee.
They're reused from Saints Row. Hilarious.
Nice.
Hilarious. Rare quality.
Is it pneumatic?
Or what that? What
is it pneumatic?
Yeah. That's legendary. That's the legendary one. Like the legendary one comes with a nuclear powered backpack.
Starts up.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Ghostbuster
proton pack.
Like a proton pack.
Powers up the nuclear. It oddly looks similar in many ways.
Yeah, oddly.
Minus the tip, but. Oh man.
Also, probably you use that to not cross the streets, but I'm not. I'm not particularly sure.
Oh man. Oh, so that's the thing, right? This game, it's been hitting me on like so many levels, and it's funny because, again, those stories, little things. I had one where I saw what looked like a massive gathering of baddies. It came up as a little thing, and I actually ran into, because I had two. Well, this was a follow-on to. I thought it was going to be this other one. There's a side quest mission I'd run into I think is part of, because I have one of 17, I think, in it, of taking out like psychos or something. These
cyber psychos.
Cyber psychos. And I'm assuming, did you get into at least one of them? I've only done one so far. And
I've done a couple.
Okay, because the first one I ran into, it actually blew my mind, because the first time I saw someone that was a cybernetically enhanced villain or something, someone to go against, and it was this, I think, gal that could warp a bit. And
that's
okay,
one of the augments.
Yeah, and so when she would come run at me, because I'm pretty sure I was streaming it, and all of a sudden she would just like zip, 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 side to side, coming at me in close range. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And definitely caught me off guard, and I got a timing thing where I was able to turn around, and I think I took her out with my katana, but it was like, whoo. But that effect also, she had the augment that I'd found later of after a certain amount of damage or whatever would shoot out lightning, like energy everywhere. I was just like, oh, you suck. But that caught me as such a unique situation and kind of fun thing to run into. I'm trying to think some of the other kind of just...
Really, there's so much good stuff so far.
Yes. Well, and so then I saw a gathering again. I think of a bunch of Tiger Claws or something, but the whatever gang, and I scanned a couple, like, yep, there's a bunch over there, and they were so grouped up. I was like, what an opportunity, now that I've remapped my grenade button so that I don't accidentally throw grenades everywhere. Middle mouse. Really middle mouse. Mouse button 5.
Not the one I would have picked.
No, especially when you reuse it when scanning to tag something. And so when I think I'm just going to tag that. Oh yeah, I tagged it with a grenade. But purposely threw a grenade over into this like mass of baddies, and it, boom, I see all the numbers go off, hundreds of numbers, like, I'm only going to have to play clean up on some. And then I suddenly saw a thing pop up in my window about warrant issued. You
have done something illegal.
Yeah, NCPD or whatever, Night City, NCPD warrant issued. And I was like, what? I thought those were all baddies.
Turns like, that's not me. I didn't do that.
Sure enough, there's a cop in there. A couple, I think it was cops and them talking at the time, and hadn't actually aggressed yet, because I've run into some of those side battles. But this one I don't think had happened yet, because there's no gunshots. And I started it. And so then I just turned and booked it. Because much like the Grand Theft Auto mechanism, you stay out of the sight of cops long enough, and they kind of forget about you if you haven't done anything. As far as I know, I don't know if they have star ratings, things like that, but at least I haven't done anything so big that, they brought out the choppers or anything to look for me.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We are gonna kill you. You can't say that.
It's been such a good ride, and I definitely see myself putting more time. Well, and the funny part is, because I had other people I've seen people talking about where they were at in the game in some form, and I just recently, and not a big spoiler right to anybody not playing, got to where I have interacted with Keanu's character in it.
Yep.
Like, I had put hours into the game before interacting with Keanu's character.
Oh, it's really true. You do not have to rush the main storyline.
No.
In this game at all. Like, it is not required to. I would even go so far as to say don't.
Right?
Rush the main storyline.
Well, did you run into a situation, because I know I did, where early on I felt so underpowered? Like, not even equal, or where it's kind of, now I'm playing on hard. I don't know, maybe I artificially did it. But where most firefights, I was like, I can't. There's like 3 of them. I'm going to die. I need to like totally subvertively kill at least, or like subdue 1 or 2 of them before I can take on the last guy.
Honestly, I didn't.
Okay. I was curious, because I also, mind you, am focused mostly on tech and intelligence for my skill tree, with a side note of what is it? body, just because I feel like health in general.
Yep. Gotcha.
And so that's kind of what I've done.
I did pistolero build.
Okay, so you're all up in reflexes.
I am very, very highly into the reflexes.
Hey.
Gotcha. Hey there, Ken.
Hey,
Welcome
sir.
to the show. Yeah. No, it's
Can you see that tall? Is it too bright?
so I see a bright screen. Oh, wait, it's resolved a little bit and then gone back. It's okay.
It's
So
changing
it's
colors. which might be
that's
helping.
why. So it goes to almost full bright, and then I can then read the show X that's in there.
Yeah, it was my early Christmas gift from Ken Features.
Nice. So that's like your on-air light.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm sad that it's not showing up properly though.
No, so it says show X, and then it gets to like it almost washes out with brightness, and then dims back to show X, so you can see
Okay.
it. It just like
Oh,
scrolls
okay.
through it. Nice. That's actually
Sorry,
very
it drops.
appropriate. No, that's very appropriate as we're just talking about Cyberpunk, and if nothing else, the Cyberpunk world is super shiny and bright, especially at night.
Oh yeah.
And impressively,
You can totally see the Philip K. Dick neuromancer sort of influence in this thing. Like it is there in full regale, shall we say. And I am for one very happy for it, because it is very, very awesome, I have to say.
Cool.
yeah, no,
Very, very awesome.
I have enjoyed it. Like it's, I'm almost surprised, if that makes sense. Like I guess I wasn't expecting it to actually come out and be as good as I am enjoying it.
Yeah. There's some hacking that I had to do.
Yeah. Well, do we want, like, so let's bring that up during the show. Because I think that'll be a great talk about the in between. Yeah. Well, and I don't know. So you picked it up on launch, right, Todd, or shortly thereafter? Okay.
Yep.
Because the other thing I've been running into or seeing a lot on has been the well, that I experienced at least, and then discussion on whether others have, has been the performance and how, at least for me, it has improved significantly with the latest patches, essentially, with the patch that it had, and heaven forbid getting NVIDIA game launch optimized drivers for my video card.
Right.
Like, actually makes a difference. This is one of those games that I will say it is probably necessary. Like, do not try this without.
There's a lot of things you should not try the game without. I was watching the Linus Tech Tips. I was watching the Linus Tech Tips video where they were looking at all of the different ways the different setting presets.
Yes.
Where they were playing it on like ultra settings on an 8K TV.
Yeah, they were trying to find out how they can make it work on 8K.
Yeah. Very, very fun, very cool little video. If you're
Yes.
interested in going to find it, absolutely worth going to find for sure.
Can I just say how ridiculous it is to try and do that?
Well, so, of course, them playing out on a 8K set, they were using a 3090, right? They did actually test it for a moment with a 3080 and talked about that experience, or lack thereof. Like, it booted. It showed something on the screen.
Yep.
But it was not good. And it started creating some weird artifacts that they were assuming was either, I think it was part of the memory issue, like lack of overall physical memory on the 3080. which seems to be actually a pretty big issue these days with what I've been hearing about performance and various levels. And I actually watched a discussion today because there were announcements about newer NVIDIA cards, and they're saying, but man, going forward, you need some video memory. All right, I'll let you guys catch up some more. I am going to go refill my drink, and then we should be about ready to start the show.
Sure thing.
Sweet.
So I'm sorry, Todd. All my news this week is going to be about WoW, I think.
That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to stop you from talking about World of Warcraft. Certainly, it is the case that I will not stop you from talking about World of Warcraft.
I'm not saying you're going to stop me. I'm just saying you might not enjoy talking about World of Warcraft.
No. So I am a very much do what you do kind of guy. So if you know World of Warcraft is what you're doing, by all means, we should talk about it, right?
I look forward to hearing all the Cyberpunk chat, guys.
Oh God. That's all I can say. I just over and over and over again. Oh God.
Are you happy with it?
Oh God. Yeah. I haven't laughed this hard at a video game since Saints Row the Third.
Yeah, I remember you loved the Saints Row games.
Well, the third was just uproariously funny, and I just can't. I can't. I don't know what else to tell you. It's been hilarious. Like I have stories already.
The first person I've heard who said that is funny. I've just heard people saying it's very good and buggy. That's all I've really heard.
That's funny.
It is
funny
definitely glitchy.
So okay. So let's get into things. Ken, I'm gonna give you the opportunity as we start the show here to start off with the Shadowlands news, just so you're ready. But let's go ahead and get into things, everybody. So, time to start the show today. Here we go. Oh, wait. Nope. I have to hit the other button first. So first I have to hit this button. There we go.
Hiya, this is Kitten Features, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in the student accommodation all the way in Scotland. Wait, that was years ago. You're listening to Show X Live with your favorite Scotsman Ken, currently residing in the US of A, and Wayne, mostly from Colorado.
Hey, wait a second. I'm on the show too, and I don't get any billing at all? Well, I know how to solve this. Soldater, Fremad, March! You're listening to Show X with our favorite Scotsman Ken, our child of the corn Wayne, currently living in Colorado, and Todd, who now has an army of angry Norwegians at his back. Enjoy the show!
All right, everybody, and welcome to the show. You're listening to 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT on this Sunday, the 13th of December, 2020. And welcome to today's show. We're going to be catching up on some of the latest news that's been going on around the interwebs, both in and out of gaming, I think primarily with a little bit of technology sprinkled on the side, as well as I think at the end, a little bit of news about our rights and streaming and things like that. So we're going to kick things off, though, talking a little bit about records that are being broken in gaming this holiday season. So, Ken, if you would, tell us what's been going on with WoW, since you have been playing that.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So as you guys know, I've been playing the new World of Warcraft expansion, Shadowlands, and I've been having a very good time with it. I was actually surprised because I was expecting to be put off by the complete lack of integrity that the storytelling has had in World of Warcraft for the past couple of expansions, in my opinion. But it turns out I'm actually quite pleased just by the sheer pleasure of the gameplay. So I've been playing a fair bit, let's just say, of World of Warcraft in the past couple of weeks, and that's been nice because I've not really played that much in the way of games this year at all. So it's enjoyable to get into something again. Right, so I've got 4 different articles here, all talking about Warcraft and the things that are interesting. I actually had 5, but one of the new ones I found overrules one of the previous ones, and you'll see why. And I'll save that for the end because that's going to be our lead into Cyberpunk as well, I think, which we're going to talk about as well. Okay, so first of all, you guys have heard about World of Warcraft's pacifist panda who has never killed anything or anyone, who levels up by picking millions of flowers, because you get a very small amount of XP for doing herbalism. So he has now gotten to level 60. He has now reached max level by just picking flowers. Yeah.
The original Stardew Valley player.
Yeah, congratulations on making max levels as a pacifist. You have patience that I absolutely do not have.
It took 17 days to get from 50 to 60, I think. So,
man,
I've got to say, right now, I'm in one of the most popular US servers. I believe this guy's US based. I'm not sure, though. I'm in one of the most popular US servers, and I can say that herbalism right now, you make so much money by picking flowers because
everybody needs potions.
Yeah, as soon as you put on, and the new raid just came out this week. So as soon as you put some herbs onto the auction house, they're gone. Like pretty much whatever price you put, it's ridiculous. Like you can go out for an hour picking herbs and come back with 10,000 gold. It's mad.
Yeah, it's required because you said the word 17 days. And I have to channel my inner Hudson. 17 days? I don't mean to raid on your parade, but we're not going to last 17 hours.
Your ability to just throw up quotes like that is so impressive to me. So impressive. Yeah, so that's impressive. Really, shout out to that guy. I mean, I think the first time he did it, he did it neutral, right? He didn't have a faction. He wasn't Alliance nor Horde. He was just Panda.
I thought he was just hanging out without. Yeah, I thought he was trying to go as long as he could without getting a faction.
Yeah, and he realized the best way to do it was by herbalism. So I can't even imagine the amount of money he has made by just doing herbs. I mean, like you can not only buy, so you can buy in-game time with gold now, right? So
yeah, he's probably set. Like any other accounts he has, he's playing. He's just like, meh, I'm good.
Yeah. There's been a lot of problems with bots right now, multi-boxing bots. So 2 things are interesting here. One is that last month Blizzard finally banned multi-boxing. So you can no longer go around with 25 druids and do your thing, and just reach impossible levels and do your own raids solo and so on. You just can't do it. It's against the terms of service now to do that. Which is a bit of a shame. I don't really see the problem with it. I mean, if somebody's willing to put in, 25 times $12 a month, I mean, go for it, right? I don't care. I guess it could ruin people's experience of his PvP and such, though, because that extreme level of targeting can be insane. So maybe I get it. But because of this, herbalism making so much money, and WoW right now, the multi-boxers have been going around and just doing herbs now. So in the past, when you picked up an item like a resource, be it mined or herbalism or skinning or whatever, it would make the resource disappear for everybody. That's no longer the case. You can now, everybody who is on an individual character has their own sort of instanced versions of resources. So people can steal your stuff, right? So when you're exploring, you still it's good actually. Makes it less competitive in some ways, which is nice. But if you're multi-boxing, right?
Ken, you can bear with me. Communist WoW.
It's a fair share for all men.
And orcs, and
druids,
trolls, and cows, and panda bears, and elves, but not the blood elves because they're dirty.
So I think the multi-boxing was banned partially because of this. Because if you think about it, if you're walking around with 25 guys, you pick up 25 times the amount of the herbs, right? So and that means that suddenly you can just ruin an economy.
Yep.
So one of the things
you can dominate it, certainly.
Yes, Ionis threw in there. It's not that they specifically banned multi-boxing. They were banning people using programs that copied input between different copies of WoW. So it's being able to do it as a automated process, because I knew people who played multi-boxing manually. The only thing they would do between is they would just put a follow on their lead character. So they would have the one they were controlling, and the other ones they would slash follow. And then when they got to an actual thing where they were involved with stuff, they would turn around and boom. I think the only thing they had happen was it was like the auto target, where target what the person I have is listed as like raid boss or something. Those kind of same mods that you already get for doing raids and other stuff to always target the latest, whatever the main target is.
Target of target.
Yeah, and so you could. They were still doing that, but they were every input was like manual and such. So I think they could probably still get through it. But yeah, doing full on botting essentially seems like what they killed. And yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it is full on botting. I think it is just you can't when you have World of Warcraft active on one window, you can't put it into other windows at the same time. So you'd have to manually go one character by one character, and it's so slow. All it does is just that when you press W, it sends it to 25 programs instead of one.
Yeah, no, I can understand.
I don't see it's a bad thing.
I can understand them getting rid of that to a degree. Like you said, for the if nothing else, like taught to the economy thing, and like you said, Ken, in PvP that would be insane. So, what other news do we have around WoW that's not about the banning and bots and such?
Sure. So that was the pacifist panda reaching 60. Okay, the next one that I thought was kind of interesting is this new feature they put into the recent expansion, which is called the Threads of Fate. And what this is they kind of played with this first of all in BFA, Battle for Azeroth, which is the previous expansion. And in that game, when you got to the new area, there was like a main quest line. This hasn't really been a thing in the past. Generally speaking, all quests were pretty much equal. If you think back to TBC and Wrath, some led on to others and such, but generally speaking, there was no main quest line. Because it wasn't just a single story, it was lots of stories that are usually just told, and the main story is really told through raids. That was it. They've now made it so that in Battle for Azeroth, the last expansion, there was a campaign set of quests. So when you looked at your quest log, you'd see your campaign quest log, and you'd see your other quest log. And, I'd say 95% of the quests are other, right? I mean, the majority of the game is still that. But to unlock new areas and to unlock new features in the game, you need to complete the campaign and finish the campaign. And in BFA, that was pretty minor. I mean, you could still explore the whole land, and nothing was really stopping you from ignoring the campaign completely and just doing side quests or whatever you please. That's different in Shadowlands. In Shadowlands, you land, you have to do the quests in order. You cannot go to any of the new areas until you've finished the campaign, excluding side quests. So you can do side quests if you want to, you don't have to, but you have to do the campaign. And that unlocks the new areas, and it's all part of the storytelling. It also blocks off certain dungeons as you're leveling. So if you're level 52, for example, you only be able to have access to one dungeon instead of all 9 or so. I don't have any other shot, I'm guessing. However, this is really dull, especially with lots of alts. So the thing that they've done that's really, really interesting in this new feature I was talking about in Shadowlands is if you go into Shadowlands with an alt, after having already completed the campaign on another character, NPC walks up to you and says, I notice a temporal distortion around you or something, right? And they say, do you wish to skip ahead past the campaign and just do the Threads of Fate to level? In other words, do you want to do the sort of standard WoW experience of you can go wherever you want, you can do world quests and side quests and PvP in any dungeon you want, all that stuff is unlocked and you can just go. Or do you want to do the campaign again where everything's locked off but then you unlock all those quests that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise?
Ooh.
So it's a very customizable experience, which I like. And I just think it's a really fascinating way of doing the game. So this article that I brought up, now that I've given the background, is are the Threads of Fate worth it? And it's a huge chunk of text. But let's go into this part here about the experience side of things. This is more technical. Like many systems, the value is in the eye of the beholder. Threads of Fate is a flexible system in that it allows players to pursue whatever arc they desire. If someone wanted to level from 50 to 60 with only pet battles, you can do that. If you only want to focus on dungeons, you can do that. The content itself will shift and change with each new world quest, allowing players to change their content level experiencing with time. The other cool thing is, at level 60, when you finish the campaign the first time, you unlock your covenant. Basically, you choose a faction. And with that faction, you get certain perks and rewards. And you also grind rep, as well as grinding resources for them. If you choose the Threads of Fate, you can start at level 50. You can start doing world quests that start earning that rep and other stuff from 50 to 60. So you don't have to wait till you get to max level and have finished the campaign to begin the end game, right? So threads of fate is really, really useful for that as well. The major flaw that this article is trying to state is that it does not expedite the leveling process. The contribution of zone quests to the overarching zone quest line will vary. So according to the calculations here, rare mobs grant. So the way it works is that there's 4 areas in Shadowlands that you can go to, excluding the mob. And each one, if you're doing the threads of fate for your leveling 50 to 60, you have this progress bar between 0 and 100%. And every time you do something there, it adds to the progress bar. So it doesn't really matter what you do. It's up to you how you do it. Side quests, world quests, bonus objectives, dungeon quests, and rare mobs. And they all contribute to this amount. So you don't have to even complete an area. You don't even have to do half of it if you don't want to. You can just do rare hunting if that pleases you. And then you eventually complete that area, you get your end game reward for doing that, and you can move on to the next one. So they calculated the rare mobs are worth 3%, world quests are worth 4%, side quests are worth 1% to 3%, depending on the difficulty. Bonus objectives are worth 7%. Those are like quests that you see on the map that are like kill 50 guys in this area. They're not given by anybody. They're just general, objectives. And dungeon quests give 10%, with an additional 3% per boss. So it is quite easy to go ahead and just level through with that experience. But what they're saying is that this takes a very, very long time, and they're quite annoyed with the fact that it's not expedited. They were hoping that the Threads of Fate would make it faster to level through, when in reality it's still just as slow. I would argue that that's actually okay. I don't think a fast leveling process is necessarily a good thing. I think that's part of the game.
I agree with you. I think it's better that the Threads of Fate way is no faster or slower than the normal way. Like it should be an equal alternative. It shouldn't be a well, this is what all the raid community uses. See, this has been this way for throughout WoW's entire lifetime. But raids are broadly overrated in terms they are. In terms of the reward that they give for the time and the skill set invested. And we could have a longer discussion on that another time. I don't want to bog down the discussion with this debate necessarily, but gaming YouTube and Twitch has sort of ruined a bunch of games by pushing developers towards putting raids in games that don't need them.
Yeah.
Borderlands 2.
I was gonna say, I know I never cared about raids when I played WoW, so yeah, I'm all about the open world leveling and questing and mechanics of any game.
I have no problem with at all with raiding. I think it's fine as is, and I think it's fine for people to enjoy that. But I do have a problem with people and the way that they often view raids, because they consider it the only way to play the game, and I don't figure that's the only end game content. I mean, for me personally, I love being an achievement whore and chasing down, every dumb achievement, like typing /love to every critter across Azeroth. Like, I want to do that. I enjoy that.
And you're 100% right, Ken. And the problem is that the expectation is that the rewards provided by raid content are going to be better than they should be. Especially when it comes to giving a leg up in PvP content. And again, for this conversation, we have to differentiate the people who do world first. I think should get a little bit more. But the average person who's just watching a YouTube guide and following directions, I don't think deserves much of anything. You were taught to follow directions when you were 6. And you've been following directions to various degrees of affinity since you were 6. So watching a YouTube guide and following directions is not particularly skillful to me.
Okay, I agree. That depends how you play, though. If you play raid as, like, I know when we do our mythics, for example, I don't look up any guides, and we fail a few times because that's fun.
Sure,
that's half the battle, right?
Sure, and if for those people who do things blind in the purest way, by all means, I appreciate you, but my appreciation means next to nothing.
You're not going to get an achievement in game for it.
No, certainly
sure,
not.
Yeah.
Certainly not. But yeah, I just really think, at Destiny 2, another game that was ruined because Twitch and gaming YouTube, we got to have all this repeatable stuff that gives us power levels far above because PvP. And it was just like, no, not really.
Okay. Well,
not
so
really.
now,
First of all, your raids are barely raids because they take 6 people instead of 5. So like they barely qualify.
Well, okay, so it sounds like they've done some things that actually sound pretty good for the overall compression great, now in WoW for how it's done. What else is new in WoW? What else have we gotten into that's, you said, let's see, is that 2 articles in?
That's 2. We've got 2 more to go.
Okay.
Okay, this one I haven't read, and this is from Polygon, so just be warned.
I like the preface.
The title grabbed me. It says World of Warcraft Shadowlands finally ditches the hefty time commitment. I'm sitting here thinking,
okay,
what are you talking about, man? I mean, I've been playing it, and like, you can always choose how you play this game, right? You're completely welcome to do that. But if you like to, like many people do, if you like to raid and try and be on the cutting edge, bleeding edge of content, and so that when the next raid is released or the next wing of the raid is released in like a week or two's time, you are able to just jump in. A lot of people like to do that, right? That's a big part of the appeal for World of Warcraft. And to get there, you need to not only have the rep grind from all the appropriate factions to be able to unlock stuff. You need to do Torghast, which is the new infinite dungeon. The idea that's the procedurally generated dungeon that you need to go in and grind your soul ash from, which is used to make your legendary. It's really fun, actually. Really cool, by the way. Let me just take a side note on this feature.
It's an infinite 5-man?
It's not actually infinite. I say infinite because it's procedural, right? It's infinite content, let's say.
So it's more like it's repeatable. You're saying that it'll have a different experience every time you go.
Yeah. And how it works is there's these powers called anima. And to answer your question, Todd, it can be 5-man, but it can also be 1-man. It just depends on how many people you go in with. It scales. It's great. It's the way it should be. Right? So you go in, and there's the whole resource in this new expansion is called anima, right? It's the thing that everybody's trying to collect to save the world for whatever reason, or the afterlife, whatever. And there's these things called anima powers that you get in this new dungeon called Torghast, and you don't get any loot from Torghast, by the way. You're literally just getting the soul ash that's eventually used to create a legendary. But it's so much fun. So what you go and you go and kill a bunch of mobs, as you usually do, or complete certain quests or objectives within the dungeon that appear. So, for example, you might walk in and see like a fairy strung up against a wall, and you're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's like, "Oh, don't care about me. My girlfriend's at the end of the dungeon, and you need to save her. Go do that, and I'll give you some cool stuff." You're like, "All right, right." That kind of stuff happens as well. It's not just killing stuff. And you get these anima powers. Now, what these are these they're either modifications or new abilities that your class unlocks for the rest of that dungeon.
Okay.
And you can also sometimes unlock the same one again, and they unlock they can either like improve your health or okay, here's a couple from my class, Demon Hunter. One of them doubled the size of me in demon form, doubled my attack range, and doubled my speed, which was cool.
Wow. Okay.
Another one is that if you kill a maw rat, which is basically one of these mobs that try to run away from you constantly, while you're in your demon form, it doubles the length of your demon form. So one of the strategies people do is they try to pull as many of these stupid rats as they can, and then carry them around with them, kill one at a time as the duration of their demon form goes down to increase it again, right?
Right.
And it's min-maxing.
Yep.
And there's loads of these really cool powers. They're really fun, unique. Each class has their own one. And not just one, their own class is like a plethora of like 15 to 20 powers each. So each run not only is procedurally generated and you get different stuff in there, but you also get different experiences of gameplay and what you're doing, which is so fun. It's an awesome experience. If anything, they didn't put enough content into the reason to do the dungeon, because grinding your legendary is I'm glad that it's not a dull process. But I feel like there should also maybe be some gear rewards or something, so you feel that each run actually gets something out of.
Yep. This sounds an awful lot like what the Division did with the Underground, in which there were as few as 3, as many as there were 3 areas you could have up to 5 handicaps. And the more handicaps you put on, and the more difficult you set up the Underground thing to be, the more points or currency you got, currency in the form of points, and then that served as an alternate leveling process. But the points and currency were also used to buy gear from the underground expansion.
That sounds like a good way to encourage players to actually do it and reward their time.
Yep. Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, the only problem with that is, of course, all of the areas in the underground were underground, so they were kind of samey. Like, it was subway tunnels and subway stations and sewers and things like that, and they were procedurally put together, but there's only so many iterations on that theme that you can do before you go, oh, I've been in here before.
Right. Gotcha. Fair enough.
So,
I think it's the same with Targas. People feel that way as well. So the reason I say this is I haven't even read this article, but to be fair, so they might be saying something completely different. But in my opinion, if you actually play like the majority of players do, and that you try to sort of rush to level 60, and you're trying to keep up to scratch with everybody else on the same sort of item level, and you're trying to do all that, you need to run Targas repeatedly. You need to do your weeklies, you need to do your dailies, you need to grind rep for your faction, you need to do your dailies for your faction, your covenant, and so on. I mean, realistically, if you actually want to play like the majority of people play, you need to put in like a couple hours a day. And that's not a small time commitment. That's actually quite a lot on top of actually raiding and dungeoning if you want to. So I don't understand. So let me read the article and actually let's just see what they're saying. So it starts with almost 4 years ago, I sat in a meeting with a potential New World of Warcraft guild. The Nighthold raid, this is back in Legion, debuted a few weeks earlier, and I was hoping to get on a team for the next raid, Tomb of Sargeras, open to the public. But by the end of the meeting, I had some homework. I needed to spend 30 plus hours running the same dungeon 80 times if I wanted to level up my weapon and join for the guild's next run. It was at this moment I realized that I wouldn't be joining a guild during this expansion. I wanted to raid, and I couldn't. And I see what they're saying about the fact that in that particular instance, they hadn't done enough prior, so they had a lot to do for a week's notice. But if you think about 80 hours of dungeoning, if you spread that over a few months, that's like a couple dungeons a week. That's really not a big deal.
That's not a big ask for time in the context of an MMO.
No. So I find that a little odd, and I can see where he's going now. He's now saying that because you don't have that obvious. The cool thing about this expansion is that once you get to level 60, if you're not really bad at the game, you can pretty much jump straight into heroics, right? Like you not really mythics, but you can definitely jump straight to heroics so long as you meet the minimum item level requirement, which is 160, which you can do just by doing the quest, which everybody will have done to get to 60, right? So it's not that big a deal. Getting into heroics isn't that hard, and doing the heroics isn't that hard so long as you can occasionally do some CC, some crowd control, and you know how to focus certain mobs and do certain obvious tactics. This is a special note. Most people don't, from my experience in the dungeons. Most people fail on the bosses that require deft movement and consideration and logic. There's one new dungeon. It's a Night Fae dungeon. And what you're in this forest, and the way the branches sort of like, there's basically doors, right? There's 4 doors in each area, and in front of each door there's a sign. There's like a symbol, right? And the symbols either are all the same, but with 2 things slightly different. You have to find the one that is the most different, right? So either different color, has a circle around it, or it has no color, or whatever, right? And if you find that, that's the door you need to go through. If you fail, you move back to the start of the dungeon. You have to run back, right? It's a pain in the butt. The number of people who cannot work out how to do basic pattern recognition and just go through the first door they see again and again and again, and even when they start being hesitant and they start to think about it, they look around, they spend like a minute thinking, and then they'll still go through the wrong door. I'm like, oh. So the point is that I think heroics are accessible to most people, but at the same time, there are tactics in place and requirements of understanding the basic mechanics of fighting in World of Warcraft, like crowd control and such, that people are still failing heroics. So it's not necessarily the time sink that's difficult. I'm not saying that it's crazy bad, but it's still there. And so long as you are able to actually play the game without, failing the basic requirements of playing a game with some level of logic and skill. So I've not read the full article. To be completely fair, and there's it's about a 10-minute read, and I have only given it 1 minute. So he may go into some better points, but so far I don't really agree with the idea that it's ditched the hefty time commitment. I feel like it's just for this person's playtime. It's probably different.
Why is it that it is expected of us as people to have the sense of object permanence of a small child or a cat? Like, you're not supposed to remember that WoW is an MMO and took tons of hours to make max levels, and even more hours to finish your raid set. And by the sounds of things, it still does that. Like, why is that? Why would you start your article from the perspective of, I had this one bad experience like during Legion, and I don't have that bad experience anymore, so Dev fixed it.
Yeah, it's the lack of objectivity of being able to look at your surroundings and see what everybody else is experiencing as well. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Like, I linked you guys in the in one of our other chats the article from Kotaku about Cyberpunk, which we will talk about when we get to Cyberpunk. But same kind of thing. Like, you're only supposed to have a memory that goes back like 6 months, and anything older than 6 months, you're just to have forgotten about. Unfortunately, I don't work that way. So, like, I remember how long it took to even get the blue set in WoW Classic.
I remember getting my first epic and like almost crying. I was so happy.
Yeah.
Sad as that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I want to say about the article. I think it's kind of interesting. The last one I'm going to talk about, this is the one that I originally sent to you guys on our Facebook chat a while ago, but updated. So the article I originally sent to you guys was saying that World of Warcraft has broken records with how quickly it's selling, which was impressive. It has now been beaten already, and you'll guess by which game. So let me read the article to get the exact figures here and so on. Okay, so this is from Tech Radar. And it's basically saying that CD Projekt Red has now taken the crown with a very healthy margin. Glitches and all, CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077 is now the biggest PC game launch in history after racking up an estimated 4.72 million PC pre-orders. That's pre-orders. In advance of the game's December 10th launch date. A number have set to rise even higher with the on-day purchases being put on, of course. They revealed this on Twitter on Thursday. The achievement comes just days after Activision announced the World of Warcraft, the popular MMO's 8th expansion, God, that's crazy, had taken the crown of fastest-selling PC game with 3.7 million sales on pre-orders by November 23rd. So that's crazy. We've had 2 breakthrough figures in the past month. That's insane for PC gaming. And people say PC gaming's dead. It's all the consoles, man. Yeah, clearly. And the fact that Cyberpunk requires such a hefty gaming PC to be able to run it shows how many PC gamers are still actively upgrading their builds.
It actually doesn't.
Really?
So that's where it's going to get interesting.
Not particularly hefty PC that runs on a Core i7-960, I think I said.
Yes.
Processor is running Cyberpunk 2077 just fine.
Wow. I am surprised by that.
So to get into Cyberpunk, as you said, because that is quite an impressive record for WoW to put up a massive number, like, right? And because prior to that,
especially 20 years after release,
yeah, and prior to that, there wasn't anything else up there. So that's, and go figure, right? Exactly, for WoW to come out and still be relevant in that way is pretty impressive. So looking at, for me, to talk about the numbers as they switched over to Cyberpunk, although that is, where's the one that I was after? Nope, it grabbed the wrong article. Darn it.
So I have a question to Serpentor, who just in the chat said, I have a Core i7-980 and it runs fine as well. Serpentor, did you have AVX problems with with running Cyberpunk on an i7-980? Because I don't think, I think you should have had the same problems that I did. with flatlining errors. And I don't know, Wayne, do we want to hype up? Okay. So he just got back to me in the chat saying no, it ran just fine. So there's something between my processor and his processor that, excuse me, that my processor must be even older than his.
Maybe it's the settings that you have in game. Maybe even if it's
no, I tried that. I tried messing with the graphics settings. I tried everything that I could think of to do in in-game settings that should affect a crash to desktop, right? So I yanked all the detail stuff down to low, and I changed it from full screen mode to windowed full screen, and then I played around with the resolutions a little bit just to make sure that there wasn't something with the 3440 by 1440 that was making it do crazy stuff. And I kept getting Cyberpunk 2077 as flatlined errors during the prologue. There's a part in the prologue where you have to sit in a chair.
Okay.
And I would crash every time.
Interesting. So
when I would go to sit in that chair. So what I hadn't done before buying Cyberpunk 2077, and folks, you should all do what I didn't do before you buy, instead of doing what I did, doing it after you buy, is look at the minimum system requirements.
So to answer your question, Todd, about the difference, looking at userbenchmark.com as CPUs between the 960 and the 980. The 980 was a new generation of processor. It came out in Q2 of 11, where yours came out in Q4 of 09. It's on a 32 nanometer process. Yours is on a 45, and AES new instructions. Intel's AES new instructions, it does have, and yours does not.
Okay.
So there is an actual architectural difference between your guys' processors.
Yep. So Sir Pedsor is lucky. I am not. I had to. I spent many hours on launch day searching for a solution to the crash to desktop problem. And my particular crash to desktop problem is with AVX called Advanced Vector Extensions, which everything Sandy Bridge and later has implemented. My processor has not. So every time it tries to run an AVX expression, my processor goes, I don't know what to do with that, and it explodes. Okay. So an intrepid modder came out with a modded executable that disabled AVX.
Interesting.
All right, great.
And I downloaded it the morning after launch day and checked it out, and it all worked fine. Steam patched. And I had problems with the patched modded executable.
Oh no.
So here's what I did. And by the way, everybody, if you own a PC, you absolutely should have the application Notepad++.
Yes.
Downloaded and installed on your PC.
It's one of the most. Yes, it is so
universally awesome applications,
from
free and
coding,
open source. But
from coding to opening almost any file type that you're unsure of to at least look at.
Like Cyberpunk 2077.exe in hexadecimal. Yes, as a matter of fact, it'll do that. I found the somebody, again, the same intrepid person who was modding the executable so that everybody could play without the AVX instructions. Also put in the hexadecimal string that you were looking for and the modification that you needed to make to Cyberpunk 2077 executable
this is like,
to turn off AVX instructions. And I went in with Notepad++ and a hex editor, found the string, changed the two characters that I needed to change, and I have been running Cyberpunk 2077
Dude.
Sans AVX on a Core i7 or on a Core i7 960, and it has been, no joke, kids, rock solid.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's impressive.
That's actually really awesome. And I mean, you're giving me vibes, Todd, of like 1980s hacking and
yeah, right.
Well, because I remember that exact thing, like the old, like before people made it easy, right, to give yourself boosts in games was going into the hex of your save game and finding a value and flipping values until you saw something change in game. Like, aha, my health is now this. That's very reminiscent. That's awesome that you got to work.
So Spencer clarified he actually has a much more modern processor. His
I saw that
80 graphics card, which graphics card is not my problem. RAM also not my problem.
CPU, but that's crazy.
Processor, my CPU is a bit of a problem. Fortunately, next month is January, and my professional development budget resets.
That'll be fun.
There will be funds.
So, but speaking about what you're talking about with issues with the hardware, right? Cyberpunk 2077 is a beast. It is no question that it does take a lot to run this game. Thankfully, on the PC build, you can do a lot to tweak it and get it to a point for hopefully it to play fairly normal, or at least be playable, however you want to define that. Hopefully at a fast enough rate that you can target people and it's not jumping around on you. I can say that at launch, on my i7 6850 with 64 gigs of memory and a 1080 as a video card, it was choppy as sin. Now, again, I played in windowed mode, which shouldn't make a huge, maybe 5% difference. I play in window mode on the screen, but playing it at 1080p, so 19 by 10, I was struggling to see maybe like 20 frames per second on launch.
Oh, wow.
And it would get up there and it would work. And some parts were more playable than others. Actually, I started as a nomad, and starting where you're driving out from away from the city into it, and it's mostly open.
Yeah.
It actually ran very smooth once it got outside. But when it was inside, initially the garage, I was in the head of the detail and kind of closer in images, everything, it was struggling. And then when I got into the city, I started struggling and things like that. Well, it's just, I think because the way from a distance, there's a lot of textures that are very similar and not as much rendering. Once you're in the city, there is so much going on in the city for textures, lighting, and reflections, things like that. It makes sense to me. But so I was playing it. It was fine. I could enjoy it. It was just really choppy. And I was like, well, sure want that new video card now. But thankfully, just at the end of the week, I had not updated my graphics driver, so that I don't know which of the two things it was. But I got the latest NVIDIA made for the game graphics that had just been updated for Cyberpunk, as well as Cyberpunk released their 1. Is it either 02 or 04 update that they just had done.
04.
Both of those at the same time, got them in.
Yep.
Started it up, butter smooth.
Yep.
And so whatever between those two, whether it's the NVIDIA focus on their graphics or that patch, suddenly I can play it, and when I am just playing, it feels amazing. I have not done a frame rate check, but I'm sure it's over 30, likely under 60. Because it doesn't seem like that 60 pure smooth, but it playing well. And I'm on Ultra. I have my settings on Ultra. That's what it recommended when it defaulted. I played around, came back to it, and And so, now granted, I have a 10 series card, so there's no ray tracing. But man, if they haven't done a good job with the lighting, regardless of lack of ray tracing, it looks really damn good.
Such a gorgeous affair.
Yeah. So
it is absolutely beautiful.
And it's one of those things in this game. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I had the opposite. I had the opposite problem. I have the 2070. And the only time I was getting the fans of the 2070 to spin up is when I was outside the city.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So there's probably something in the configuration somewhere in there that was causing the fans to spin up, but all the close quarters action inside the city, like very little was taxing.
Interesting.
Was taxing the graphics card at all. It wasn't until I got out and started doing some of the oh gosh, what's her name? Pan Am. When I started doing some of the stuff with Pan Am that outside the city that I started the fans started to spin up more and more.
Okay.
So that's usually my trigger to change things.
And what resolution are you running at?
3440 by 1440.
Okay, you're at 1440. Gotcha. Because that's another thing, right? Me at 1080, I'm at that low end, which can be played well on back a few generations of cards, where like you're at with that 2070 at 1440 is like a sweet spot for it in the 2000 series cards, where 3000 admittedly everyone's trying to push to 4K as like the benchmark for it. What's interesting, right, is this is a game. So to tail off what we've said about the numbers, my personal experience jumping into it's been surprising, and we were talking about this in the pre-show a little bit. My Steam list has, for the last several days, other than this moment right now where Roxy and Tabaxian are playing Among Us, that everyone on my Steam list has been Cyberpunk 2077. And I don't remember the last time I looked into my own gaming like friends list and everybody was playing the same game, right? Just I've had 3 or 4 days of just solid like, yep. I look on 8 to 12 to 14 people all playing Cyberpunk. Like, dang, I'm one of the cool kids for once. I'm actually playing the game everyone else is.
I know, right?
But to say that Steam's list, and I lost my article that had the exact number, but it is peaked as the all-time highest concurrent game being played on Steam.
Wow.
It topped over 1 million active at once playing Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
where I think prior to that, I forget the game that was prior to that, it was like 400 something thousand. Like 460,000 was the previous peak for at one time everyone playing the game. So no questions.
Sorry, quick thing for in the chat. Hando says so Notepad even if you don't know coding. Yes. Notepad even if you don't know coding. Yes. Notepad is going to give you some light relational formatting.
Yes.
So you're gonna see like XML or HTML opening and closing tags are gonna be slightly different than HTML or XML attributes that are gonna look slightly different from the actual data that's in the tag. And so on and so forth. So any of those sort of formatted standards are all going to be handled by Notepad++, so that even if you're a coding noob like me, you can go in and look at something like XML or HTML or something like that, and have a good idea of what you're looking at.
You can see those.
Highly recommended.
Got tabbed viewing so that you can have more than one thing open, which to me is massive in it. Huge. And it remembers what you had open. If you close Notepad and then bring it up the next time, all those same documents stay open. It's so productive.
Which can sometimes be problematic when you're opening a 40 megabyte XML file.
Yeah. Can I also highlight another program which is fantastic for similar reasons? Sublime Text. It's got pretty much the same functionality that Notepad++ does. It's a bit less popular. And it's infinitely free. However, you can pay for it to support the developer, kind of like WinRAR. But I think you can just do it forever.
Nice.
The cool thing about that is that it has this beautiful community that produces really nice add-ons. One of my favorites is that you can actually have a terminal as a window within Sublime Text. So you can... Cool. Yeah, and then with the terminal, you can do anything. You can have your weather up there. You can do whatever you want. And you can do that alongside. So quite often, if I'm coding, I can code, which is just basically a fancy notepad. But then the other window, I can run my code, and it's all in one bit of software, which is really nice. It's like a really full...
That's really cool. I use Eclipse Oxygen for that.
Oh, nice.
When I need to, but I tend to. When I'm developing, especially in XML, I usually have Notepad++ up on one screen and Eclipse Oxygen up on the other screen. And I'm doing my development in Eclipse and running the code and then looking at the results in Notepad++ because it's what I'm doing right now is an XML to XML transformation. So,
Cool.
so I can look at the source XML in one tab, the resulting XML in the other tab, and then tweak the transformation style sheet in Eclipse and
Nice.
see things in real time.
Can I also say dark mode is just like the best thing in the world?
Yeah, dark mode
everything.
is the best thing ever.
This is why our show has a theme like it does.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hashtag
you're not wrong.
dark mode the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Save your eyes, save them pixels. So
okay,
continue.
Can we gush now?
Well,
yes, go ahead. I'll sit and enjoy.
Well, so the one last thing I wanted to do is we were talking about the specs and stuff and the challenge of it. And I wanted to share a video because not everyone's getting the same experience on Cyberpunk. Because your hardware matters. And Cyberpunk was released not just on the PC, which is where we might be playing it, but also on the new series, Xbox Series, as well as the PS5 and the PS4 and PS4 Pro. And
so on all toasters of all levels.
And toasters may be the appropriate discussion on this one, because I'm going to show a video comparison of an outdoor scene between a PC, and these are both at their maximum settings, and the PS4, because I've seen a lot of stories about this. And so in this view, what you're going to see here is this difference between the PlayStation 4 and the PC, as it just kind of, you see the world here with the PS4 on the right, and there's definitely a difference. And it showcases, especially on the PS4, how I've watched like Digital Foundry and some other sites that have had some really in-depth reviews of the performance and what's happening in them. And it sounds like on the PS4, it is taking a lot of compromises, especially when it gets down to resolution and things like that for the performance.
That world that you're showing on the screen right now looks a lot emptier than what I've been experiencing. And I even had to turn the crowd setting down to medium.
I didn't know there was a crowd setting. That's pretty neat that they actually changed the content of the game.
And it's so brilliant because it's under the performance options.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So if you've got a dog of a system and are worried about not being able to, worrying about stuttering and choppiness and all of that stuff, just yank that crowd setting all the way down to low. And,
that'll help a lot.
And it's gonna help a lot because this world has a lot going on in it.
Yes, it does. Well, and they showed, because especially like in the indoor scenes, one of the challenges I see, like what I'm showing now, is the muddiness, I guess, of the console version. That it just looks so much less. Now, they did show this is like an early release where there were some graphic errors between, and that happens. There's definitely been some bugs. But for me, and this is a good example, I'll phrase it here where you're talking about the crowd size. The same scene in what's kind of scripted as you first go on the street, or close to, just the difference in the number of people, the lighting and the effects, but really for me, it's the background resolution. And way in the back, it's just muddy and dirty, and like you lose a lot compared to what's in the foreground that you'll see. So you can play it, but they showed on Digital Foundry that the majority of the time, the PS4 and Pro are running at 720p. And it dynamically goes up as high as almost 1080p, but it's always slightly below. And it's running at maximum, basically 30 frames per second. And so that's the best it's doing. And on the newer systems, it's doing much better. But even then, they're running at slightly skewed resolutions than what you would see on a PC with all the latest. Of course, we can get 4K and such. They're not running 4K on the PS5 or the Xbox Series. And so it's something where, and they've also talked about a lot more glitches have been coming out from the console versions than from the PC.
PS4 and Xbox One, I guess, is the comparable, right?
Yeah. Xbox One, PS4.
Those two optimization teams are going to be crying for the next 6 months, 9 months.
I feel for them, yes.
Because they're going to have to do lots of trickery with the engine to overcome, to overcome the hardware limitations of those systems. They are old. I mean, that's just my system is old, and I had to resort to trickery to even run it.
So, for those who are interested in how you can have a lossless version of playing a game, in other words, how you can play a game with higher performance without any loss of quality, there is actually a way. And the way I love to describe it to my students is, have you ever heard of infinite Hitlers? The infinite Hitlers idea. You're never going to be ever truly sure if wherever you're not looking, there are actually an infinite number of Hitlers just standing around you, right? At any one time. You don't know that, right? You can never know for sure if there's not infinite Hitlers standing around you.
Is this Schrodinger's Hitler?
I mean, it sounds like it.
Is
there simultaneously Hitler and non-Hitler every place that I am not looking?
Yeah, exactly. I suppose so. I like the phrasing. So this idea is the same with games, right? You don't really know what's actually there if you're not looking at it. So why bother rendering it? Why bother showing it beyond the base requirement to load it faster when looked at?
But you'd have to be able to on demand load that stuff super, super fast, because if I were to whip the mouse, in the equivalent of a 180-degree turn, you can't stop and give me a loading screen.
Just because you turn the other direction.
At 105 degrees, you're just like, oh, sorry. We for the purposes of doing lossless compression on all of our textures, we only loaded in, 130 degrees of the world.
Yep.
And the rest of it, you're just gonna have to wait for.
And they do similar things, not lossless, but they do similar to the type of trickery in games like, if you think of Just Cause is a good example. It's a huge world, right? Huge map that you can explore without a single loading screen.
Yep.
And the way that works is, one, it passively loads as you go. But what if you're up really high and you can see to the opposite side of the entire country, right? You can do that. You can get in a plane and go really high and see that far. Well, what it does is there's different layers of textures that it loads. And as you fly closer, you will start to lose quality. So it would just load a slightly higher version each time. And using that kind of trickery means they don't have to have the maximum 4K resolution textures of every single stone and pebble for an entire country. And instead, they have a 4K version of the landscape, right? Not the zoomed in version, just a 4K version of the landscape. And then when you get closer, you get a 4K version of the town, let's just say, right? And so on. So there's a lot of trickery that can be done to help this kind of thing.
Yep.
And I imagine that these guys are probably masters of it, considering how much work has gone into this game and how long they took in development. I imagine that the fact that it looked so good and runs so nicely.
Sure. Actually, Ken, you've touched on something that I guess I want to, before we gush about how good the game is, or at least how good the storytelling in the game is. I think that because Cyberpunk 2077 is running on a brand new engine, that they decided to keep the minimum requirements higher than they would have necessarily needed to be in order to prevent people's PCs from exploding if they tried to do something like I'm doing. Right? If somebody who couldn't do AVX and that they're just running it on this super archaic 14-year-old processor, right? That was the bomb diggity when the year read 2.05, but is kind of a pig now, like mine is, that they didn't end up ruining hardware, right? Because it would be a massive PR problem if processors started slagging in their and then their owners' PCs.
Well,
because
sure. I mean,
they were trying to run 2077.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I imagine they do. I think they do the exact same thing with food quality and end by dates, right? Eat by dates, because they know fine well that by the 27th of March they'll put that down, but in reality your food's probably fine for another 2 weeks or whatever, depending on what it is. But they put it on an early date so that they're not liable in case your fridge isn't working very well, or this particular piece of fruit goes off early for whatever reason, got bruised in transit or something, and so they don't get sued for that, right? And I imagine I think they have to do that kind of preventative measure.
Yep. No, and that's fine. Like the PR hit's a big deal, so I understand why they're doing it. I would have rather them not use AVX in their in their engine, because it would have opened up the game to a even wider audience, right? I mean, not everybody's got a professional development budget, and not everybody's got hundreds of dollars to dump on a new motherboard processor combo for this generation of games that's come out. So
as simple as changing a single line in hex. I don't know why they didn't just have an if statement that says if you're running on this computer.
Well, no, I think
it doesn't have it.
I think like you're
saying, my understanding of that is it's a setting that you can set on the compiler,
right?
When you compile the code. Now, I'm sorry, this is beyond my technical. This is beyond my technical know-how or my technical understanding, so I can't validate that statement. I don't know. But you're right, Ken. If I can just open up the executable in a hex editor and change one or two characters of hex code and shut off AVX, it seems like a pretty easy thing to go into the uncompiled code and just put if processor supports AVX, use AVX.
Yeah,
if processor doesn't support AVX, use, I think, what is it called? SSE, I think is what it's called.
Oh yeah, the old extensions. Yeah,
I'm a software guy, not a hardware guy. I have no idea.
So no, that's cool. All right, we need to take a break. When we come back from this break, it's all good. That's why we have these, though, because some people need to get out there and what do we like to say? Take a bio moment and things like that.
Yes.
Let alone bring back some beverages and things so they can stay hydrated and in tune with the show. So we're going to take a break.
For our military friends, visit the head.
And after this break, we're going to come back with a cleanup email from our friend Ionis, talking about some of the various topics we've had
there goes
in the past. I think this one is
listen to vtwshowx@gmail.com. Please feel free.
Yes. And I think this one is a properly length Ionis email, so I'm happy to receive it.
You're our new storm tamer, so you're going to get the brunt of this every week.
So with that, we are going to take a just over 3-minute break. We're going to listen to Vector Man remix called Soiled by the Egyptians from OC Remix, and we will be back right after this.
You're listening to Show X on btwproductions.com.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to the show. So, well, let's see. I'll get this out. Actually, I'll get this out before my voice dies on Ionis's email. I also wanted to share that I did 2 reviews recently that I wanted to share with people that you guys go check out if you'd like. One, so I will link these both into the chat for everyone. And with these are both essentially reviews. One being a review on video on our VTW Videos channel, which is of Sam & Max Remastered that recently came out, which is the same game that came out in 2008, but has been updated to modern graphics to run at 60 frames per second, have nice lighting and things like that, and cleaned up a few of the puzzles. So you can check out that one. The other is a review I did of a game called Fracture, which I posted back on vtwproductions.com, since that one I wrote out as kind of a blog post. And so feel free to check out both of those if you would be so kind. I'd appreciate it. And let me know what you think. Great. So coming back, email from Ionis. This one coming in saying, cleanup, Doomsday Ionis, or how are we all going to die without seeing the stars again? And it begins from Ionis. Woo-hoo! It is a global New Year's party. Party! The biggest party in the history of humankind, happening since we killed the last woolly mammoth. Do you like music? We have music. Do you like expensive stuff with no real life value? We got that too. Do you want a divergent ecosystem with rich biodiversity? Sorry, we just ran out. How about trying genetically modified food instead? This is the biggest party ever. After all, who cares if the bees won't make it through? Or whales? Who the hell likes whales anyways? Captain Ahab didn't, and he's famous. The scary part isn't the fact people who produce calendars won't make enough of them for everyone before midnight. The scary part isn't even the fact that people didn't gather to celebrate the New Year's at all. Actually, some of them believe in the New Year's will never come, and they celebrate that. It isn't even that scary when you realize there are more and more clocks approaching midnight, and few people who try to push back the clock's hand cannot keep up forever. The scary part is that somewhere in this cacophony of sound and motions, there is a clock that already hit midnight, and it's already New Year, and nobody noticed it, and we're all living on borrowed time. This is where the answer to Enrico Fermi's paradox is. According to urban legend Fermi, an American physicist and creator of the first U.S. nuclear reactor, upon seeing Drake equation, which gives a formula of communicative extraterrestrial life in the Milky Way, asked, so where are they? In the galaxy is so big, if there are so many stars, so many planets, and the potential for life to evolve, where are all the alien races? They are here, at this party, or at least at a party very much like ours, a party that potentially happened thousands of times upon thousands of worlds, with so-called intelligent life forms dooming themselves out of existence by their own evolutionary shortcomings. Just look at Earth. Species that, on the genetic timeline, barely comprehended agricultural revolution is now in charge of strip mining an entire planet of every potential resource that can be sold for profit. Our genetic code doesn't have any failsafe in this regard, because our ancestors were never genetically selected based on which represent of our species were better at moderate expansion and responsible management of resources. Even the societies that were predispositioned to that way of life were eventually conquered by those who expanded beyond the capacity of their environment to sustain them. Now, not to be overly too dramatic, I don't think we'll be responsible for destroying life on our planet. Outside of an interstellar calamity, destruction of all life forms is really hard, and with any life form, there is potential for evolution. I'll even say we might have a mighty problem destroying humankind itself, considering how diverse humanity is and how essentially little we need just to survive. What is at stake today is our civilization as we know it, our way of life. With our cultural values, our laws, our technological sophistication, we find ways to weaponize every step of the way. The hopeful part is, as our civilization is knocked back to the proverbial sticks and stones, we might have a hard time climbing up that ladder again, as the very resources that kickstarted our industrial revolution will not be available anymore. Humans who would have to take a different, perhaps more sustainable path of development. It is a curious way of thinking that perhaps it takes 2 or 3, quote, global restarts to get a civilization that can develop itself without destroying the world around them. And we're just the first raw take on an advanced civilization on our planet. The idea of space travel, visiting other planets, other solar systems, no one is going to seriously think about the human colonization of space until our civilization on its last legs and the danger is imminent. And that might just be a little too late. There is a massive difference between sending a few pre-selected, highly specialized professionals into space or even to a different planet. It is something else to send 100 colonists even as far as Earth's orbit. Using Falcon 9, we can bring 1 kilogram, 2 pounds, of payload into space for $2,700 USD. This means a human of about 60 kilograms, 120 pounds, would cost $160,000 US just to get to the ISS. Multiply it by 100. Add whatever everyday basic provisions humans need for the period of 6 months. Water, food, toilet paper, clothes, tools, computer equipment. How much is it? Just the toilet paper alone, according to MIT, we use statistically 42 rolls a year, so 21 rolled for 6 months. 1 roll weighing about 227 grams. Gives me the math. And it translates to basically 4.7 kilograms and about 1,200 or 12,500 USD, just so you can go to the toilet for 6 months.
I think you can conserve on that number.
Well, yeah.
On the
you
toilet
just put
paper. There's no burrito places in space. There's no bucket scoop in space.
Oh,
and there's
man,
no in space.
Man, you get that. You combine it with just put a space bidet in there, or basically a vacuum, right? All you need to do is siphon the tiniest bit of anti-pressure out, such that anything that was in you is no longer. You don't need toilet paper at all.
That's lots of cheese.
Okay, I've got a possibly much less messy solution to this. What's it called when some people have issues with their intestines and their anal tract, and they get like a little colostomy bag? That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
I don't see if that's a safe procedure, we could always do that on an astronaut, and then therefore all just collects in a bag, and then it's already packaged away and nice, right? Isn't that a thing?
Yep, that is definitely a thing. So bags and catheters for everybody.
Why not, right?
Yeah, why not?
It's a hell of a lot easier than
why not?
Once
I can tell you this much right now, you're gonna get some number of people with that's the cost of going into outer space are going to choose death.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think is it permanent, a colostomy bag? Like I know people who get it usually get because they have to.
No.
I wasn't thinking about the bag. I was thinking about the catheter.
Exactly.
Oh.
Right. All right.
Fair
so
enough.
You could have a temporary catheter or death. No, I choose death.
So he finishes up saying, sending large groups of people anywhere in the solar system is a massive financial undertaking with a very small margin for error. Try telling your electorate that they can't have any new infrastructure for 10 years because we're sending 100 a-holes to Mars. No, wait, scratch that. Get the military-industrial complex. They get nothing for the next decade. See how that will work for you. Sending people outside the solar system is not even on the table. Poetic silver lining? I consider that the laws of physics, while fundamentally unbreakable, can be bent or warped. I strongly believe that given enough time, human ingenuity and greed will unlock means of cheaper, safer, and faster space travel. However, I also believe those discoveries are beyond our reach for the foreseeable future. Our generation and generations of our children will not see the benefit of that technology breakthrough. Ours is to slow down the doomsday clocks enough so our grandchildren, their kids, and grandkids can figure out all of this before we run out the calendars for everyone. That from Ionis. All talking back to our discussion about space travel and whether it was valuable enough compared to focusing on other resources and technology here on the US or on the Earth. All right. Thank you for that, Ionis.
That was much deeper than I was expecting that email to be. I was expecting this is what I did this week. I played a little bit of Cyberpunk. It was a good time. Hope you guys are well. Bye.
Ionis consumes what we put out there and really thinks about it.
Not for the Show X official Storm Tamer. Absolutely
right?
not.
Not at all.
I like it.
He is. And until he has the crown Storm Tamer is the unbeaten champion, right? Or is the unbeaten retired champion, right?
Yeah.
The unbeaten vacated champion.
Yes,
So
he was undefeated until such time as he retired.
If Storm Tamer decides to come back to reclaim his title, hint, hint, he's welcome to come back and try. But right now we have an interim email heavyweight champion of the world, and it's Ionis.
Absolutely.
So congratulations. There would be a title belt, but we're in the middle of the plague, so probably not a good idea to have that change hands.
It is time for us to gush a bit. So, Todd, let us talk about these things you've been enjoying and such, as it is definitely a shiny, neon-filled world right now we're living in gaming with the release of Cyberpunk 2077, glitchiness and all.
Think Gibson. Think the original Blade Runner. Think early Neil Stevenson. And now imagine that in an absolutely gorgeous living city. And there's all kinds of stuff going on. And from a video game perspective, imagine a greatest hits album of the good stuff from the original Borderlands and the good stuff from Saints Row, and the good stuff from Watch Dogs, and the good stuff from like Metal Gear Solid, or the stealth action game of your choice. Tenchu Stealth Assassins.
Yeah, okay.
One that I was trying to think. One that I was trying to think of. Imagine that in a greatest hits album inside a visual homage to the cyberpunk genre, to William Gibson, and just imagine that, and that's the very tip of the iceberg. Add all of the modern RPG custom character build, but also character visual customizations. Again, another thing reused from Saints Row. It is just unbelievable. Then I would call the narrative the opposite of The Last of Us 2. Like, I've been impressed with the narrative thus far. I don't know how far into it I am. I've run into Keanu Reeves, so that's fun. That's a fun little interaction.
Yes.
I have found weapons that I absolutely love.
That's a big part of games for you as well.
What's that?
You love collecting unique, novel weapons. That's like a thing that you've always enjoyed across Fallout and other games.
Yes, indeed, very much so. And they just took a bunch of really great stuff from a bunch of games, wove it together in a way that, at least to me, makes sense. Put it in this beautiful living environment, and wrapped it all up with at least a better than average story. And I cannot get enough of it right now.
Wow. That's high praise from you, sir. That's very high praise.
I echo everything Todd's saying, because it's been weird where
really?
I've had a ton of games that I'll jump back and forth to because I like little momentary experiences. I'll play several ARAMs. I'll play a few matches of Warzone, things like that. But I've struggled to sit down with a game that actually requires some remembering the storyline and continuing to like get in deeper and deeper with it since I've spent much more time in Fallout 3 than I did Fallout 4. Things like that. I have feels of things like Grand Theft Auto in this one, mostly because of like the car mechanics and stuff like that, and a big open world where you can kind of go everywhere. And this one even surprises me with everywhere, including like vertically in a lot of cases, more so than I would have expected in many games. It's got a great, and it's great too, because the UI works for it being a game, but you're cybernetic. And one of the early things that happens is you do acquire a cybernetic eye. And it's great because I didn't even notice it at first. I thought it was just like, maybe that's kind of missing, and hopefully not a spoiler for anyone, but a UI element you normally run into where when you're doing any gunplay prior to that scripted story element, you don't actually see the ammunition on your weapons. And then once you get that new eye, one of the UI elements they add and they actually talk about is, hey, look, you can now see how much ammo you have.
That's cool. That's a nice way of explaining that.
Totally missed that.
It's little things.
That the HUD was part of your cybernetic eye.
Yeah.
I totally missed that.
They add elements in it. Really so cool even like on the map with your ability to navigate, and it has like the breadcrumbs, but the breadcrumbs are on your map, your little world map, say, or whatever, not in your display very well. And yet it gives you like augmented reality views in your actual display and such. And so it all works for the whole cyberpunk, cyber world element.
Yes. For the pacifists out there, there are non-lethal stealth takedowns.
I think you can pretty much do almost the whole game.
There are non-lethal weapons.
Yes.
Wow. So
dude, there's a mod.
Guy who likes to do herbs could probably play this game, is what you're saying.
Yes. You can. There's a mod that I will not install because I don't need it yet, but I'm carrying that makes whatever gun it's in non-lethal. And so you do all the damage, but it won't actually kill. And it actually, one of the things it says on like SmartLink guns, it will prioritize limb shots over body and head shots when you use the non-lethal mod and such. It's just like, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, no, there's so much depth to this game. I continue to run into things I would never have expected that fit and are great story elements. I like one of the first things that just blew me away. And games have touched on this more and more and more, which is, as we talked about earlier, about the crowd effect and the fact that it is as Todd's described it, a living world. When you get your cybernetic eye, one of the things it also allows you to do is scan things, people, everything around you. Basically, you hold tab, it gives you a scan element. I'm trying to think of something it's similar to in other games. Not quite that. Watchdog. Okay, see, I haven't actually played Watchdog to see it, but so it makes sense. But it gives you visualized elements of what's in the world, items that you can interact with, consumables, things you can pick up, which I really love for the loot thing. I can just tap it, and it gives me symbols of things I can go loot. And it also, though, when I started to look around the crowd right after you get it, you can scan every person in the game. And some will be nothing special, but it'll scan and it'll still say their name, what their status is, like a civilian or not, whether or not they are wanted for something or not. And that added a level to me because I just spent some time scanning person after person after person just to kind of see what information it would give. And then if they're known that
bit's straight out of Watch Dogs.
Okay.
Yeah. In terms of the eye, is this something that is like common, or is this like a rare item that you as the player get and you're like the only one who has that?
No, it's
cybernetics are everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they use it in the world because you see, I jokingly said in one of my streams of it, for anyone who's gone back and watched some of the previous stuff on our channel, you'll see during this last week me streaming it here and there as I was trying to figure out how to stream when this thing beats on my machine. Like it destroys my 1080. I cannot use the NVEC encoder to stream with it. I have to use software encoding because it doesn't destroy my CPU until I clean it up, and then everything's 100%. Video card, CPU, just ping, heat gushing out of my machine. But no, cybernetics are everywhere, and you'll see just the NPCs. I feel like they use the random number generator for character creation everywhere, and it's amazing because you see so many unique designs, clothing, kids wearing stuff.
I have seen more pairs of booty shorts than I ever thought I would.
I mean,
Yeah.
and
that's part of this world and the world building that CDPR has done. This is dystopian.
It
future.
is.
This is Blade Runner level dystopian. Instead of a Starbucks on every street, there's a sex parlor on every street. There are markets where there are gun shops and clothing stores and what they call cyberdoc, right? Or cyber. I want to say cyber fixer, but that seems wrong. But the people
so
who can do the
it's the
Ripper
docs.
Ripper Doc. That's it. I knew Cyberdoc wasn't right. Ripper Doc.
Yep.
They have there are food stalls
everywhere,
right? That you can sit and eat at a food stall. You can go into a bar and interact, have short interactions with the patrons of the bar. It's and there's just random stuff going on. Part of that is GTA, part of that is Watch Dogs, part of that is The Witcher.
Yeah.
Right? That's CDPR reusing their own stuff.
So perhaps it's the effect of, it's so popular that I've been avoiding it. I don't know. Does this game have any multiplayer aspects, or is it purely single player?
Single player.
Oh, purely single player.
Which is also what's crazy about it, right? Because I tend to also jump into a lot of multiplayer games just to spend some time with people I know or just that competitive side. But where this is giving me a huge part of that single player experience that I've been jonesing for, because also it allows that freedom of approaching the problems in the game or the things you have to accomplish in kind of whatever way you choose. And so combination Deus Ex and I'm trying to think all the ones that have, like you said, pacifist type of ways of getting through to full violence. I am trying myself to go in as a very hacker tech pseudo stealth where I spend all my time doing quick hacks on the environment to distract opponents so that I can try to take them out non-violently in a lot of cases. However, it seems like I have yet to actually complete a full mission without going loud, because I always make a mistake somewhere in there. And instead of like dropping and saying, screw it, I'm going to quick load and do this perfect, I'm like, I'll still get through the level. I guess I'm just going to kill everyone else. The first half, you guys got out safe and shoved in a closet till you wake up. The rest of you, I guess we're gonna dance. And
leaving a bloody pile on the floor.
Yes, and it's been so fun to do a competition. I just had a mission where it was kind of one of these side ones that wasn't a main and got called in it, and I jumped into it where I had to go rescue a guy from a hotel that was holding up. And again, this is like a random quest one that came up, but it was awesome. And the detail that every level has, because even in this little motel on the side that I'd never been to for any main quest line, it had cameras in it. It had the main office rooms, it had all the other stuff you'd expect in patrons and people hanging out. And I go and find them. And as I'm getting out to leave, all this, it's like, oh, cool, milk run. Picked him up. Let's go. Jump in your car and get out of here. A whole bunch of gangsters show up to take him out. And he's like, oh, no, I gotta get out of there. So now it becomes a pseudo stealth thing where I could have gone loud. I found a back path and actually climbed to the roof, avoiding a few people. And I was like, man, what is this NPC going to do, right? Because I'm this cybernetic dude. I can jump from this rooftop, land on the other one, all this stuff, right? What am I going to do to get him out of here? So I saw on the edge of the building, there was a little like first story tent or like top, like a roof. I said, well, let's see. Let me drop, because he did follow me up onto the roof. I was giving him credit. I wasn't sure he'd climbed the ladder and he was with me. I dropped onto that next rooftop and then onto the ground, and he came after me. And so we completely avoided any of the mob. Like I had to like subdue one of them or just sneak past. And we walked out to the street. I called my car. We jumped in and I took him to the next place completely without going loud. And I was like, wow, I was impressed that the AI and the NPC followed through. Right. It just like
smart AI is rare even in modern games. Yeah.
It really got me. Like I thought for sure.
A lot of, it seems like they did a fair bit of work on pathing.
Yes.
NPC companions.
Well, and it shows because I've had, because also those driving mechanics, right? The number of time I've had to not try to take out every pedestrian around me.
Don't do that.
Yeah, because they don't like that. The cops don't like that. But
No.
when I've slowly done it and seen the NPCs react, watching NPC reactions has been wonderful. I've had people tell me off just because I stood there looking at them too long. One of the earliest things in the game, I walked up to a shop or a food stall or something. There was a gal next to me up close. She had a kind of a cool punk hairstyle, so I turned to look at her, and I was looking at her like, "Oh, that's really cool." And she gave me this look over her shoulder, made this little face at me like, "What are you doing?" And then backed away and started backing out of the stall like, "You creep." And I was just kind of like, "Oh, that was cool." Let alone random conversations and the ability
human moments.
So good.
Human moments. Yep.
And again, the variety of quests, the variety of activities. I went into one of the places I went loud partway through. I went further around because I had this assumption in my head I probably could have gone in a different route, like from the roofline or something. And I walked around the entire block looking for a way to get up. Couldn't see it directly. And I saw some like piping and stuff that went to other buildings that were also large. And I got bored and like, well, I don't want to go find where that might be an inn, so I'll go around this way, and ended up being able to distract my way in. Upon leaving, though, I found a way up to the roof because I found another little terminal that hacked to get some money, and I found that what would have been, I believe, the path in from the roof, right? And I was just like, man, the level design. And again, just...
I'll tell you what, there are development houses out there that could stand to have a seminar from the CD Projekt Red level designers to say, hey, by the way, this is how you do it.
You're not wrong about being a seminar. I've actually read scientific papers that are based on pathing algorithms. So this is not just some video game specific thing. Pathing algorithms are something that exists as
logistics is based almost exclusively on supply chain logistics is based almost exclusively on path optimization.
Yep. Yep. And plus trying to take in other factors as well, like multi-objective problems such as, trying to avoid hitting people in your car when you're driving it around.
You're seeing that.
How to make it realistic, right?
Well as all the automation we're seeing, because they already do a lot of those kind of things where they're applying that logic with self-driving cars, with automation in all of our production lines, with robots and things like that, with the safety and the optimization of movement and such. But in this, we're only scratching the surface, what Todd and I are gushing about.
Yeah.
Because I was stressing when I first got my points in leveling, because they have a 2-level mechanic, right? They have you level. Actually, I want to say it's almost like a 4-tier, because you have your level, you have your street cred, and then as metrics that grow with time that affect your access to things in the world and who you are and what you do. You have your character development levels, which are like your level where you can put points into your base attributes, like your overall body and your overall, your reflexes, your intelligence. Yeah. And each of those has benefits and bonuses they provide, things that improve. Then within each of those, there's at least 2, if not in some cases 3 trees of actual skills that you also can level up with the separate skill mechanic, the perks, that give you bonuses or new abilities or things. And they have things there of both, weapon and activity, things like things you will shoot, poke, punch, whatever bonuses, to the things you do in the world and the cybernetics you can use, your ability. Like, I started leveling up my base tech, which I didn't realize, but it actually translates to like your mechanical ability, I would say, in that I can now, because I was getting stuck behind certain doors, I found paths that it'd say like, open this door. Oh, if your tech level was this, you could open this door. And I'm like, damn it. Well, that would have got me around this whole room and I wouldn't have had to kill all those people. So I started leveling tech.
I want to do the Uber hacker. I think probably my next character is going to be the Uber hacker. Hacker build.
Well, and
you're gonna wear long leather jacket and sunglasses inside, and like a fedora.
Well, so here's the thing, right? Could you? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Could you? Yes. Am I? I don't know. So far, I haven't played around. So I haven't played around with new cybernetics at all.
Oh.
Like I haven't gone to a Ripper Doc to try and I haven't augmented my body at all.
I just got enough money to update my CPU, my base OS, so I can have more slots for hacks. And I cannot wait. 15 grand for the first level up, and I saw some rare ones that were 45 grand. I was like, because my base deck can only hold. I only have 3 options for things I can do that I can hold at a time. I think only 2 that I can actually rotate out. And then the next one has 5 slots. I was like, oh, I want that so bad.
Okay. Yeah. I killed somebody using quick hacks. Where I took control of a camera, used the camera position and the scan ability to release the straps on some cargo, and dropped cargo on somebody.
Nice.
I did that in a quest. It's just, and again, that's, I'm praising all of this stuff, not because it's necessarily innovative or new, but this is the greatest hits album for the last 15 years of third and first person action games.
No, they basically took all the good stuff, mashed it together.
All the good stuff from GTA, starting with 3 forward. This has the storytelling elements of The Witcher, then the world development of The Witcher. This has the good techie elements from Watch Dogs. This has the good loot stuff from Borderlands. This has the good character progression and talent specking of a handful of games, but Borderlands would also come to mind for that. I'll tell you, they did now, and they did a fantastic job. Now, that said, there are issues.
Yes, absolutely.
And a not insignificant number of them.
So before we do dive into the issues, can I just talk about the hype and whether that lives up to it or not? Because
sure,
I gotta say, the amount of hype that I saw for this game was incredible, and I thought that was so odd because this isn't a sequel of anything, is it? This isn't like a follow-on.
Well, it is.
I mean, I know it's the same company that made The Witcher, right?
But it's also a game built on a thing that existed in the 80s that was massively popular. The board game, the RPG, Cyberpunk. So it was a known IP, but something that hasn't even been touched for all of this time, for 30 years almost now.
I mean, I feel like the most people who are into this game probably didn't play that board game.
Probably.
I don't even remember it.
I did, and the challenge was when I saw the trailer come out, I knew it was either Cyberpunk or Shadowrun. And when I saw the initial trailer, I was like, if it has orcs and stuff like that, it's Shadowrun. If it's specifically tech, it's Cyberpunk. And when they ended and said Cyberpunk, I was like, boom, I'm in. Oh, I want a game in this so bad. And I will say that, yes, Ken, the hype was massive. And it's weird. It's weird because I was into it, but I didn't even pre-order the game. I bought the game day it launched because I finally made the decision.
Me too.
Right? Because I'm anti pre-order and hype and all that. And I had let the hype die for me leading up to it. I saw other people still just, oh my God. And I was like, no, I'm going to wait. I heard the delays.
Was it Keanu Reeves? What was it that made people so hyped?
I do think having Keanu attached to the project, especially in a time like today where Keanu is a golden boy in entertainment, did not hurt and probably took it to a level that average people went little extravagant with. So I think it helped, but I don't know.
Yeah. This John Walker. Yeah, the John Walker article from Kotaku that I linked to you guys in the Facebook chat. The one thing that really resonated was the fact that this game has been in development for so long.
Yes.
And the hype surrounding it has been so refined or distilled. It is a purified version of the hype that I can understand if a person, bought the game, didn't look at the system requirements, tried to boot, ran into the crashes in the prologue, couldn't get the modded executable to work, or was worried about the modded executable, but it was on Nexus mods, which was a
that's pretty
sort
legit.
of a seal of quality to me.
Yeah, no, that's pretty legit.
Or is running into one of the other graphics card problems. Like, I've heard that there are problems potentially with some of the Ryzen processors. That there may be a problem with those. That there may be a problem with a certain set of the NVIDIA graphics cards. But then we don't know if they're running on old driver sets and they just didn't update to the if they didn't update to the latest game readies. So there's all these moving parts around it. But if you downloaded this game and based on the hype, and then had a bad 24 hours with it, I can see to some level being a little upset and being let down based on that. I had no expectations going in. Like, it looked like, oh great, I'm going to get a 3D Shadowrun video game from the first person perspective. I'll take all of that. Thank you. And it took me a few hours and the downloading of an add-on to my Notepad++, and I have not looked back. Right? So your mileage may vary, and Biomed is talking about how he did not have the same gameplay experience. Biomed, I would love to hear what yours is and what platform you're playing on and hardware specs and stuff like that, because I am having a blast.
I don't think he meant quality. I think at the time we were talking about the stealth experience and how you found multiple ways into a building and such at the time, Wayne.
Oh,
I think that's when he said it, but I might be wrong.
Earlier on, I thought Biomed had said that he returned it. I don't know if it was Biomed or someone else who said that someone said earlier that they returned the game and they were doing that at the process. I would say that for me, it's a level of much what Todd just said. And if the issue was at all glitches and errors, and Biomed right now is saying he wasn't necessarily having glitch errors, give it a couple patches, and I think a lot of that will be resolved. I think there is something to that.
Well, brand new engine, right? And then we can't, I don't want to sound like I'm giving, I don't want to sound like I'm giving CDPR a pass, because your code should be done when it comes out, right? Or done when it comes out. But we grade on a curve. They're not EA. They're not Bethesda. They're not Microsoft. They're not BioWare. They're not Ubisoft, right? They're not any of these. They're not indie either, but they're not any of these ginormous development houses that can just throw staff at a problem. Where they have now entered the discovery phase for their new engine, and it's going to take time to fix the things that they find out from all this discovery. I don't know that they're going to fix the AVX problem.
They may not. That may not be on their list.
They may not, because of what we talked about before. It's a PR nightmare to have people's processors start to slag in their in their motherboards.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Well, it's no. Give them time, but we don't give them. We're not giving them 100% pass.
I don't want it to sound like I'm apologizing for CDPR. A guy on Twitch named CoCarnage whose opinion I tend to agree with more often than I don't. The foundation, some of the foundational stuff in this game is the best I've ever played. Are there bugs that need squishing? Yes. Are there glitches and inconsistencies and clipping and things like that nature? Yeah, a lot of it. Depending on how much crowd you have around, your mileage on that is going to vary too. Are there features and things that need to be fleshed out a little bit as time goes on? Yeah. Does CG Projekt Red have a track record of doing those things? Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah, they do.
We grade on a curve here. No other development house on Earth could do this. I'll say that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Name one. Name one development house on Earth that could put together this game. And I'll provide you an example of absolute piss that they produced as a full production video game. Fallout 4 was not great when it first launched.
Yeah.
Fallout 4 plus a couple of years plus all the DLC plus even mods, even though I don't do that. It is better.
Yep.
It's fun. I still play it. I still play Fallout 3 after all this time. Trying to think of I don't think Mass Effect is better than Cyberpunk 2077 right now, but Mass Effect was not necessarily my jam.
They're very different games.
What's that?
They're very different games.
Yeah, no,
sure,
I say very different games, but
the point that I'm trying, I mean, I would argue that Cyberpunk 2077 in terms of scope is bigger than any of the games that I've mentioned.
Yeah, it's much more open as well, which is crazy.
And it stands to reason that there are going to be problems in a world that big. I have seen a lot of places where I'm in the middle of an activity and the game doesn't know that I'm ready to talk to somebody, even though the quest objective is to talk to somebody, and it takes it a minute to realize that I've gone past where the game thinks I should be to trigger some scripted part of
I have run into
going on. So yeah, sometimes I have to backtrack in order to get the triggers to fire to do what I'm doing in the context of an activity.
They're trying to do so much to blend, a customized scripted experience with an open do anything you want thing. And so, but yeah, no, okay. So if nothing else, guys, right? What you're hearing is more Todd and my personal experience with the game, what we've had over the past couple of days, and we're having a great time. And yes, it could be better. Yes, we want more. And I expect when we revisit this, you'll likely hear more from us over the coming weeks. I'm sure we will have more stories to share and more experiences. And maybe we will have something that says, like, now's the time because they fixed all these things. Or, if you can get through these things, great and going. But one of the things I did want to touch in before we get done with the show today, another subject in mind, because we talked about how crushing this game can be. And in many ways, it's almost like the new Crisis after the new Crisis, you can crush a PC with it if you turn every bell and whistle on and try to run it at 4K. One of the things that's been a struggle right now as a gamer, at least for me, and I'm assuming others, is, as Todd's saying, he's playing on an older PC, and thank goodness for the flexibility we as PC gamers have, and sometimes to get in there and tweak to make even a new game playable and enjoyable. One of the challenges is from like the console perspective, though. There's a lot of people who don't have the latest consoles, and they don't release every new game all the way back. We already showed you how the PS4 struggles, the Xbox One equally struggling on this title. There's a point where you need to upgrade. And as much as this thing, right, there's options out there today. From a PC perspective, we have all these new video cards that are now on the market. We have these new Ryzen, the Zen 3 processors from AMD that are just crushing for CPU performance. And you can go, and there's the PS5 and there's the Xbox Series hardware that's out there now. But I've seen a trend, and I'm assuming others may have, unless some in our audience here are the lucky few. Actually, acquiring new hardware right now is kind of a non-starter, like does not exist. And I just kind of wanted to throw it out there and wondering what you guys think about the fact that it seems that there's just, as much as we know the technology exists, as actual consumers, you can't get it. And especially as we get into this holiday season and we've been stuck inside for all this time, where gaming has become a bigger issue. I have an article here from Gamer Rant where they talk about the fallout of this, saying PS5, Xbox Series X, and graphic card scalping is a big problem with not so easy fix. Because of high demand, there was no question that all this new hardware was going to be something people wanted this holiday season. And it seems like a lot of factors fell in together that made this probably one of the hardest times to acquire new hardware, both with COVID as a whole, and therefore production being interrupted all around the world. Not as much numbers were actually built of a lot of the hardware, silicon, and things behind them. Take into that as well the massive hype going into it, and it seems like a concerted effort by groups to try to get hold of hardware for the purpose of putting on the resale market. I don't know about you guys, but I go down to my local Micro Center, I go down to any of the big box stores, and none of them have any of this new hardware on shelf. Not a one. The entire graphics card shelf of Micro Center is empty. When I went the other day, there was a single 1660 Ti and a 2070 Super was in, as I watched a guy pick it up off the shelf and buy it, and thus back to a single 1660 Ti. And in the big box, I've not seen a PS5 anywhere on shelves. I don't think you can get it. So I don't know what to say, but what do you guys think?
I would say for myself, I'm a special case, right? Because I'm going to buy my hardware through my company.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm looking at the business. I'm looking at my business, the business website for the place that I would buy this stuff. There's a PNY Quadro GV 132 gigabyte for about 11 grand. Graphics card if you want it. Now for things that are reasonable, GeForce RTX 3090 available for December, 3090 available 6 January, available 6 January. The 3090s all look like 6 January.
So 3090s are getting more back in stock, but that's because everybody knows there's been a ton of rumors that a 3080 Ti is coming out and will likely cost $500 less and have 4 gigs less memory. So 20 gigs, but also basically be the exact same silicon. And so everyone's like, why spend $1,500 for 4 gigs more of memory when I can wait and get it for $1,000 potentially? That's the
all of the 3080s are we don't know.
Yep.
The 3070s are available.
Really?
It's 2 February. 2 February. The Polite GeForce RTX 3070 has been ordered. 1 to 2 weeks to get.
That's more close.
5 January, 6 January, 6 January. Yeah, so, it all looks like it's after the first of the year, right?
Yeah,
now.
No, there's an expectation next month we'll see more.
I'm trying to see what I'm trying to find the first graphics card that I can actually get that's actually in the warehouse,
like in stock, ready to order. Because that's been one of the challenges.
Yeah.
There's a lot of perspective. In fact, I think it was one of the companies, either EVGA or PNY or someone, allows you now to go on a list and basically wait order list. And they're like, hey, as soon as it comes in, we'll sell it to you. And it doesn't help that we've had such a shortage and such a need that there was even an issue in China where 300? Was it 2 or 300? I think it was 200 3090s fell off a truck basically were stolen from a factory to the worth of a basically value of over $300,000 US because they're $1,500 cards. And one of the challenges when it comes specifically to the video card market in the around is that these apparently are great for mining various digital coinage. And so it seems as though mass groups have acquired them for that purpose, right? And it just, I guess there's this feeling from a consumer perspective of, I want to give you companies my money, but I cannot. And instead what's happening is there's been obvious reports of bots out there, basically automatic purchasing setups where as soon as something hits stock, it gets purchased just so people can take those and resell them because there's been markups online anywhere from 50 to 150% over the base price that people, scalpers are selling things where they're selling what 3070s, I think are going up to almost $1,000. And that's a $600 card or a little less than that actually. And it's just ridiculous. So every other site that's talked about this has put it out there. Please don't buy from scalpers, make them sell at normal price because that's what's encouraging them. But it's happening with the consoles as well, because I know people who bought PS5s and sold them for over $1,000, almost $1,500 for some of these things. And they bought them for $300, $400, right?
Insane.
Like,
that's insane.
Oh my God.
It's good money.
That's
insane. The challenge is, do you guys feel like this is something that is at all artificial, or is it truly just the circumstances of the environment we're in today? That the company didn't plan ahead well enough, didn't start getting silicon produced early enough? Was it underruns on the production that they had no control of? I mean, what do you think put us into the situation where across the board, new gaming hardware is just vaporware, essentially?
You want to take this, Ken, first?
Sure. I think this is the way capitalism is supposed to work. Supply and demand. And when there's a lack of supply, the price increases. That's the whole part of it. I don't think the companies are to blame. They're quite happy. They're making the profit they plan to do. If anything, they're making more because they're getting more sales than they would have thought they would, right? Like it's because they clearly didn't create enough goods to sell to all the people who want the goods, be it graphics cards or PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. So I think they're all happy. I think the only ones who are getting screwed over is the consumers who want to buy it for the normal price. And that doesn't upset anybody, the people who are actually making it. So why would they change their practices?
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. I think it's a conflux of several things happening simultaneously. Global plague combined with higher than normal demand, combined with lower than normal supply, combined with 45% of global GDP being bubble economy. And so, the economies are not nearly as stable as everybody thinks they are. So one of the symptoms of that is all this scramble and side hustle stuff.
Okay.
Right? Because, if somebody's got to make rent and I can scalp PS5s,
that's true.
Maybe that's worth the last $3,000 I own to turn the last $3,000 I own into $13,000. Right? I mean, that I don't know. I don't know that that's happening. But I think it's a conflux of several factors all coming together to create this.
I can see that
to create this environment.
In my mind, I can't understand why any company would want to wait too long, because like Ken said, they're happy they're selling out, but I guess the challenge right now is because there is competition. AMD and NVIDIA both, just like Intel and AMD, when it comes to CPUs, GPUs, the combination between. Right now, we're in this weird state whichever company can get the most product on the shelf today is selling.
Is going to make the most money.
They're the ones going to make the most money. We're in that weird place. It's one thing if it was a one-item thing, because that's true. I can think across the board, we have competition for the rare state amongst all of these. There's like an equal fight between the PS5 and the Xbox Series. And there's an equal fight between the new AMD video cards and the NVIDIA and the AMD CPUs that are actually better than the Intel. That's one that's slightly off that we'll see if Intel answers properly in the next month or so. but it's like, it's because, yeah, I can go into Micro Center and there are Intel processors everywhere. AMD, empty. But it's like, there's enough competition across the other ones that whoever gets them on the shelf, they're selling out. And so admittedly, I don't think it was purposeful, and it just maybe feels a bit not contrived, but really annoying, right? Because it is not rare, at least, or it's rare for me. It's not often that I'm in a position where I am willing to make the sacrifice and prioritize enough to drop the kind of money necessary for a modern video card, right? Like if it was available tomorrow, I would go buy it. And I'd be willing to invest.
I'm looking at processors now. AMD Ryzen 9 5950s. None of the Ryzen 9s appear to be in the warehouse. The Ryzen 7 3700X is available today.
Nice.
And you go down to some of the like really cheap stuff is there. 23.
Yeah, well, it's funny that their older generation stuff is still available and selling a lot actually because of the hype of the new stuff.
Yeah. So if you wanted an AMD processor right now, you would have to get a Ryzen 7 3700X,
which is not a bad processor.
Yeah, sure. And they, for some reason, have a crap ton of them.
No, that was one I think I mostly just trying to get that off my chest because I will freely admit, if a 3080 Ti is announced next month, like everyone believes will happen, I am trying to put in my head what is my willingness, my threshold for pain for trying to acquire one. Because I see it not only helping my gaming, but helping the quality of the show because I'll have more recess to render resource and such and things like that. So I have lots of reasons I want one. Right now I'm on the cusp of like, I'm willing to go camp for 2 days to get one. That's, I think, where I sit right now.
So the other thing that I'll mention is that the Intel processors are all on back order too. Intel Xeon W2155 OEM is one that's available. And then there's a Intel Xeon W2235 that's available. And then it goes down into the Core i9 9900X.
Which is not their 10th generation or whatever, but good. So interesting. All right. Yep. I know it's top of the hour.
Oh, yeah. So the last thing, if you guys don't mind, I wanted to just mention, it'll take less than 10, 20 seconds, is a post that somebody put on Reddit under the Cyberpunk subreddit that says, does anyone else just feel empty? I've been crying for the last few days. I took a week off work to play this game, and I quickly realized it's not the game I've been thinking about every day for 8 years. I cried myself to sleep and haven't been able to function. I end up crying whenever I think about the game, and I don't even want to touch my PS4. This was supposed to be the future of gaming, and now I don't know what else I have to look forward to in life.
Okay, why do you open that up? Because I feel like there's like three things I got to unpack off the top.
There's a lot to unpack.
I think that's just a single person who I think they must have some issues going on. I mean, like that's very unhealthy.
Obviously, there's more going on. Yeah. Why on earth would you think that you were going to get the future of gaming on 7-year-old hardware?
Thank you for number one. You cap it off by saying looking at my PS4. Mistake number one. That you've been pining over something for 8+ years and building up a hype on that by itself is unhealthy to no end.
Absolutely.
If you can't keep up with the reality over 8 years of development, you're messing yourself.
Credit where it's due, apparently, to the CD Projekt Red marketing people, because they apparently got a whole bunch of people. Like a whole bunch. And again, this is another one of those your mileage may vary sorts of things. But I'm telling you, coming in on this from clean, with no expectations, with no understanding that there was a tabletop behind this.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best game that I've played in at least the last year.
Okay.
Hey, I don't know what you were building up in your mind, dude. Like I've been watching my Star Citizen development for longer, And you know what? I'm in a healthy place for understanding where it's at and where it might end up. And so it's kind of one of those things. Be aware. To the last piece of that one from him, to hang your hat, to hang your enjoyment, your happiness, your entertainment, whatever you want to call it, on a singular thing. The nicest way I can say that is I don't think that's healthy. But
and
every other thing else I'm going to say is going to be mean.
I do get it. I don't think I've ever looked forward to something for 8 years, but when I found out that this is a couple of years ago, when I found out that one of my Christmas presents was good seats to an NBA basketball game, I was jazzed up for that for the entire time, between the time that I knew that the tickets were going to be bought and us actually sitting down in the stadium watching the game. Like I hyped that up huge, and it was only a couple of months, but still lived up to my expectations. I love live sports.
For me, it was either my wedding I look forward to the most, or getting my PhD and actually finishing and getting the title and everything. And I can tell you, I never lost any sleep. I never was. It wasn't even. It's not as if I was expecting, I don't know, everything to change. Though that's the thing. I think if you decide that a single thing in your life is going to change your life that much, I don't think even like transition surgery changes your life to the point that this guy was expecting this game to change his life. Right? Like,
that's pretty extreme.
It is. I don't think there's a single change in your life that will actually, like, maybe amputation. I don't know. Like, the way that he's talking about that is affecting his mental state to this level. That is like life-changing levels. Like, it has to be physical or extreme mental grief, like death of a family member. Like, I don't know what else could make you cry for days and not be able to even look at your PlayStation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that either. I don't know. And I would love to know what the expectation was.
Yeah.
It would had to have been massive. All right. Oh, thank you for that, Ken, because that tails it.
It was interesting, right?
Admittedly, I wanted to get into another discussion today about the whole legislation that's being brought up about streaming and trying to make things harder.
We can definitely do that next week.
But we don't have time today, and so we'll have to bring it up another time. But we very much appreciate you guys checking us out today. Feel free with everything we've discussed, all the news and anything we may have missed, or your own thoughts on any of the subjects we brought up. Please email us in at vtwshowx@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Todd, you have something else?
I especially want to invite Biomed into the Discord after this, because I really want to find out. I really want to hear what his thoughts are. So Biomed, if you've got time and can stop by the Discord, I would love to talk to you, because I really am curious.
And also feel free to email us any of the subjects that you would like us to discuss, because I know there's a lot of news going on, things we didn't even get to, like all the announcements from the Disney studios for media coming out and games and other things like that. There's just so much stuff going on, and we want to make sure we get to the things you guys find interesting. All right, I'll let that Ken. I'll let it go, and I'll let you roll us out.
Take us home.
ShowX live on twitch.tv/VTWShowX or on youtube.com/versus the world videos. Thank you very much for tuning in either which way. We very much appreciate it. If you want to find any of the things I'm going to talk about, you can find them all on Linktree, which is linktr.ee. That's like Linktree with a dot before the E's. /ShowX. All of our stuff is in there. You can check us out on Reddit. You can check us out on Instagram. You can check out all of our various Twitters, Facebook pages, both the show's and Todd's personal one. You can check out our Patreon. You can donate to the show. I prefer, and I think it's much easier to just do it here if you're watching on Twitch. There's a button below the screen where you can donate anything you want at all, and we appreciate that. You can also email on the show, as we mentioned, vtwshowx@gmail.com. And there's probably more stuff. There's so much stuff that you can do to interact with the show. So please go and do all of those things. Very much appreciate it. Also, we have another show on Wednesday that I host with my wife, Kitten Features. Do I come wave at the camera? Come wave at the camera. You came in the room. I don't have to put your face on.
They can see you on Wednesdays.
Yeah, come see her on Wednesdays then.
I'll have my face on.
It's 6 p.m. EST, 11 p.m. GMT. It's called Where's My Prosa, and we talk about books. This week we're talking about the book Use of Weapons. That is going to be a very interesting one because it's going to be quite controversial. We have rather different views on it, and actually discussing with Game Features has changed my view entirely on the book. So we're going to have a lot to talk about Wednesday. It'll be lots of fun. Be sure to check us out, and that's twitch.tv/Where My Prosa. Go check that out. Subscribe to us and such. We appreciate it. Thank you all for listening, and we very much appreciate you guys all being here. We really appreciate the active chat, and I like seeing all the familiar faces. I love our little community. Thank you so much. Thank you, Todd, for being a fascinating person and having such interesting things to bring up. And Wayne, same to you. You're such a charismatic man, and I appreciate you also hosting the show at the same time. That makes it doubly difficult for you. So we all appreciate you and your efforts.
All
right, everybody.
Thank you, Ken.
With that, we'll be out of here. And like Todd said, we'll be in the Discord afterwards. So check the links below and what's on the screen right there. If you're not in our Discord, if you want to continue the conversation. And with that, we are out of here and a happy salute. And we'll catch you guys again next week. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. See you in the next zombie.
Zombie.